From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Condo where I do a lot of prep work, and then I come here to the studio like we all do. And watching the par 3 tournament at the Masters, it was pretty cool because the kids are so much involved, the wives involved, and it's just freaking gorgeous. I miss going there. It's been since 2009. It is, I know it's a golf tournament. Not everybody's entrenched in golf, but it's just such a gorgeous springtime. I love this time of the year.
Yeah, no, we're getting some really good weather the last 3 days here. We had a really rainy Easter weekend, which is a bit of a bummer, but and I think we're going to be rainy this weekend. But like you watch the Masters, then I like when you can watch the Masters. It's green and sunny at the Masters, and you can go outside and it's green and sunny where you are. I know we're not at Augusta, but it makes me feel like we are, kind of in the same place.
We're not. No, we're not.
Yeah.
The most beautiful green grass yards anywhere in this area. We're not. Craig, do you watch much of it? I know you know the Masters and you understand the importance of it, like we even do the Kentucky Derby when it comes to horse racing. But how much of that do you really watch?
Well, first of all, hello to everybody out there. Hello to chat. Hope you are all doing okay today. And I'd see bits and pieces of it. I will acknowledge that the people who said you don't really want to see a Triple Crown winner in horse racing unless you're a really massive horse racing fan that you're going to watch every year regardless. You don't want to see it because then once you do, you won't care anymore. I will acknowledge that those people are correct, at least in my case, that I used to be the guy always checking out the Kentucky Derby and the whole Triple Crown if somebody was involved in it. And then the moment we got a champion, I was like, all right, cool, saw that, check. And I don't think I've watched a horse race since. But no, I mean, that's a unique event. And the Masters is up there with the unique events as well. But I've never really gotten into golf. Like I do totally understand the appeal of it. I think if I actually got out there and swung around and did all that, and I'd probably get sucked into it and end up wanting to play a lot. But I've never crossed that threshold where it's been anything other than just kind of something that's always there for me. And the big problem is the thing that probably held me back from being a golf fan, which now is just I'm so entrenched in being this old at this point and never having golfed, is I'm left-handed. So growing up, like they didn't have scissors right in elementary for me, much less like golf clubs to use. So everybody was playing golf. I was like, I don't have any clubs, and I never got into it.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid and playing golf, I had a friend who was left-handed, and it took him when he got his own set of clubs. Like they would have like a kid's set of clubs at most of the places, Smokey knows this at a pro shop. If you take a kid to a golf course, it's not his home golf course. They have a set or two of clubs for a kid that you can rent or they'll let you have. And he was like, until he was 14, he couldn't get his own set of golf clubs because it was so hard to find left-handed golf clubs. And he was really tall, and it's really expensive to get your clubs kind of custom made. So it was never a thing. And then like one time he went into we got a new sporting goods store in Fort Myers, and they had like a whole section of left-handed golf clubs. And he was like, this is the best day of my life. I can actually buy something that I can do.
I think I probably saved a lot of money though by not being a golf fan. At this point, I probably saved.
It can get expensive, and like every year the golf balls are supposedly get better and they cost more.
Yeah, so I do want to follow up on the Masters, but did y'all get the same feeling with the Triple Crown? Like once American Pharoah won, and then we had Justify right after that. It's like, all right, cool, we've seen that. Like, no big deal.
After for what, even before when Secretariat won in 72 or 3. And I was in Japan. And then it was that huge, like 25 years until, what was it, Seattle Slew or somebody? Well,
no, Secretariat was right before Seattle Slew.
Seattle Slew was, I think, 75. Secretariat was 73 or 4. You're right.
And but then there was Affirmed.
Affirmed one because it beat Alidar in 3 spectacular races that were almost like match races.
And then we got like 30 years, and then we got 2 of them in like less than 5 years. But no, I always found the horse racing really interesting. But I do watch more golf right like during this time period when they're in Augusta than I do at any other time around the year. I'll answer it that way.
Yeah, look, the 4, I watch all the Grand Slam tennis events too, and I'll watch tennis at occasionally a little bit from time to time. There's not like I don't have a guy anymore like I did when I was younger because I was a big Sampras guy. So I don't have.
You haven't had a guy for a while.
Yes, I haven't had a guy I usually think I'm going to get a guy and then I don't. But golfers, I have guys. It's multiple
you've got
guys.
Koepka, then he goes overseas.
Yeah, but I'm also a big Rory fan. Yeah. I like Daniel Berger's another FSU guy. But you watch the presentation, particularly of this one, but of all of them. And I do think it's because you start out with Augusta and it's raised the level of presentation for everyone because you can't really equal the views of Augusta. It's so unique, but you can up your production value. And I do think that the other tournaments have every year you can see them like, look, we cannot be Augusta, but we can certainly produce it like that.
Well, I feel old today because I am. It's 67 on May 2nd. But today I received my first deposit, Social Security. How about that?
Well,
I hope I have it.
Let me tell you something. I worked from day one. I mean, I probably spent like 6 months of my life where I wasn't working, and it doesn't bother me, but it makes you like, damn. And I was talking to a guy today who has had it for a couple of years, and he goes, it's really nice. It's like getting a raise, and it's your money. You earned it. But I wanted to bring that up because my first deposit, I just looked at it. It came in this afternoon, ACH from the government.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on the one hand, I'm getting older. It's just free money. I mean, it's not free in that you earned it along the way, but yeah, it's just bonus money for getting to a certain age. So I hope that I have that capability. I hope I get to that age. I never thought I'd get this far, actually. So I hope I can make it another 20-something years. But yeah, that's an accomplishment to have worked hard enough and to live long enough to start receiving that. So you just aged us as a show, but there goes our 18 to 34 audience. But nevertheless,
somebody told me today, talking to a sponsor, they went, well, we're looking for 45 to 60. I go, look in the chat room. Now there's some young guys. We got some young guys, but that's pretty much what it is, especially talk radio type formats. In ours, we're TV, we're radio, podcast, audio, video. All right. So some football to start it off with. It's pretty cool to get some of these. These are coaches on certain topics, including Morgan Scalley, who is the new head coach, of course, at Utah. He's been around. But you think about who they had at quarterback coming back with Dampier and, of course, Ficklin. And they kept both of them. They could have left. One of them could have said, I want to play more. One of them, I'm sure, could have gotten maybe even a bigger amount of money. Here is Morgan Scalley on why he thinks Utah was able to keep both of them for this year.
That he loves it here, that he loves the culture, that he sees himself as being able to succeed here. He's a competitor, and for guys that love to compete and love, I mean, you look at this place, why would you want to leave? You've got a fan base that loves the players. You got fans that show up every single home game. We're a winning program, and he's sitting there in a sweet spot right now. So absolutely love Bird and his attitude, and I think you all have seen the progress in the time that you've been out here, right? It's pretty awesome.
All right, so there he can run. Of course, Dampier can do a lot of things, but you get both. Not very often do you really get to keep both when one of them was highlighted at times last year and a hell of a playmaker too.
One of the things that might be an easy convincer for running quarterbacks is if you're a running quarterback who plays behind another one, you likely know that like you're probably going to get a shot because there's going to be some times where even if he's not injured completely out of the game for a long period of time, he's going to get dinged and you're going to come over there and they're going to put another pad under his pads and do all those things because he's a running quarterback. I also think this, and there was a long time where quarterbacking was not a guaranteed thing, no matter how many stars you were. I think the first true freshman quarterback starting in my life I remember was Peyton Manning, that I really remember and having an impact. And, it was just not a thing for so long. So, yeah, I get it. If you are almost the same year as somebody and you guys are kind of on a similar path and you can't start over this person, then, yeah, I think especially at a quarterback, you should go. But if you can stay somewhere and develop and then you can get 24 starts or so before you go on to the next level, that's better than hopping around and maybe getting 13 starts over 2 or 3 different schools.
Well, they're in a good position, Craig, at quarterback with Scally and the Utah team.
Yeah, I haven't done an entire comparison up and down the league. I'd say, though, I'd probably take their top 2 quarterbacks over anybody else's in the league. I know you could make a compelling case for Texas Tech with Brendan Sorsby and Will Hammond, if Will Hammond comes back healthy, and maybe there's a couple of others out there that you would like as well. But I think Utah's got the 1A room with Dampier and Ficklin, and combined those guys rushed alone for well over 1,000 yards, had bunches of touchdowns, and then we're able to do some damage through the air. I think that's where Ficklin, we still don't quite know. Although he was effective at times as a passer, we just haven't seen a lot of that at this point. But, as a runner, there's no denying how electric and big play he is. So, yeah, that's a pretty lethal combination for them. I thought when the changeover was happening there with Kyle Whittingham that Dampier didn't make too much sense to leave, although it's not just his head coach, it's also his OC. So you thought, okay, well, maybe he follows Jason Beck, but what's he going to do? Go sit and maybe not beat out Bryce Underwood and then end his career on the bench? That didn't make a whole lot of sense. So you're the incumbent. You stick around and finish out your career at Utah, where you had a really nice year last year. But you also have this guy right there next to you, Burt Ficklin, who I'm kind of surprised they didn't try to pull to Michigan. And maybe they did. But he's just a freshman, or was just a freshman. Now he's just a sophomore. So he's got plenty of time to continue to up his game. And I think that for this year, that is certainly a really electric quarterback room. It's impressive they were able to keep it together, because I do think there probably was some pull for both those guys in some directions, not even necessarily to Ann Arbor, but just in general. I'd imagine people were poking around after watching Burt Ficklin going, all right, what's your plan, young man? Because you could tote the rock, and you're young too. So, yeah, for them to be able to keep that together, I think the name we don't ever say, and the one that's really the big question mark, is Kevin McGivern, which is their new offensive coordinator. We do have questions about Morgan Scalley, just what's he like as a head coach, but I think we all feel pretty okay that he's going to be just fine. We feel great about the quarterbacks, but the offense we still don't really know a ton about as far as watching it in action. So that's the question mark I have, but McGivern's got a fun quarterback room to play around with and plan around, that's for sure.
20 touchdowns rushing. Split 10 each with Ficklin and Dampier. Dampier just hopes that everybody he plays this year is like Nebraska, because he crushed them. He was huge in that game. Ended up throwing 24 touchdowns and only 5 picks, and that was something he had to work on, and that's a nice situation they have with those two. And then on top of that, you have LSU with Sam Leavitt, the transfer from Arizona State. Lane Kiffin yesterday, this week, meeting with the media as they go through what they're doing when it comes to spring football. And a little nugget that Leavitt, who had surgery, is getting screws taken out as his part of recovery and will not be a part of spring, but Kiffin doesn't seem to be worried about it.
Nowadays, it's a little easier to play quarterback than it used to be years ago as far as how long you've been there. If you look around the country, people transfer and go play at new places, and look at the previous place we were at. The guy didn't get there till the summer. So, kind of that went into the decision where I feel like years ago you've been really concerned that the quarterback's going to miss your spring. He's done a great job mentally in the meetings and walkthroughs and able to throw some individual before this procedure.
All right, so there we are with Lane Kiffin. I don't remember that audio being that way, and I'm not saying it's us. I thought I always try to make sure that's pretty clear. But you heard most of what he was saying. Not so much worried about him because he's so experienced, and he'll have plenty of time, hopefully this summer and in the fall workouts in August to get things together.
Yeah, if you didn't hear that because the volume was a little shaky, it was really just him saying it's not that big of a deal for him to miss spring at this point in this era. And he's experienced it before, and they've had no problems with going and dealing with that. It didn't cause too much of a hiccup, so he's not concerned about it. You probably got that sense just from watching it. But I think he's Lane Kiffin. He's a quarterback guru, and so if he thinks it's totally fine, then I will default to that. I also, just on my own generic expertise, and the way we've talked about spring ball, I don't think it's that big of a deal if Sam Leavitt doesn't get to practice 15 times this spring. I think he will get more than enough reps before all is said and done. I think he's played enough football at this point, and he's already shown that he can bounce around as well on his third team with his third different head coach, multiple coordinators now that he can adjust. I do get a little bit concerned about just being hurt a lot here over the last year. That was the case last year in Tempe, and now he's hurt, and I don't know what his lingering effects may be or something new, but that would be my question mark for Sam Leavitt.
I asked Scarborough about it. I said, was this expected? He goes, yes, because they knew he was going to have surgery, and the timing was going to be to take the screws out.
Okay, well, then that's definitely not a big deal in any way, really, but that would be my concern for Sam Leavitt, would just be the health factor, because that was problematic last year, and he and Jordan Tyson both were really two of the big injuries that you feel like put a little bit of a crimp in Arizona State's grander plans for 2025. So I'm excited to see him down there. I mean, they've got him and Jordan Seaton. They went all in on the portal, and we know there's going to be a circus in town. I just don't quite know what to expect of it, but I am eagerly anticipating this LSU season to see just how weird or great or unexpected it all will be, because with Lane Kiffin, you're talking about one of the ultimate wild cards in college football. And now he's at one of the ultimate wild card type of programs in the country, as far as just they could be the best of the best, but it could also get really ugly really fast. Yeah. So I'm here for it. I'll say it that way. I am here for it.
I think those 15 practices would have been nice for him. I think it would be a kind of a bonus, to get to know. I think the quarterback and the receivers dynamic is the most important thing. And if you get 15 of those practices, here's the thing though. It used to be they got those 15 practices, everybody would go away and not see each other again. And now over the summer, all the healthy players get together and run routes together and work out.
Now, Paul, he'll take them to DJ Lagway took his guys to Miami for spring break.
They go and work out, and they kick back after they work out. So it's all chemistry and team building. So it's so different now than it used to be. And they planned on this. Plus, they've got young quarterbacks that are there now that probably need the reps more than Sam Leavitt. And this has afforded them that opportunity. So, it's a silver lining to the cloud.
I think it's okay overall. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, it would have been nicer to have than not have him available. The only other part of this is just, okay, injuries are kind of lingering a bit, is he is an effective runner. Mm-hmm. And if he's got a foot injury, then that takes away an element of his game. So you need that to be part of what he's able to provide. And the foot injury goes, all right, well, I hope that heals up properly, because we've seen that kind of song and dance before when it doesn't. And that is something he's very good at when he's able to run the ball.
All right, then there's Colorado and Deion Sanders. And I shared it. I sent an email to Curtis Snyder, who handles football media relations, about, along with all the SIDs and media relations directors, about coaches. I like Deion. I know that there's times when it's a little bit much, but I like to listen to him and his thoughts and philosophy on life, and a lot of people don't. But some of his former players, including Seaton, the offensive lineman at Ole Miss, among others, have taken a few pot shots at him. Have you heard that, Craig? Have you seen some of that on from players?
I did a whole video about it today.
Oh, okay, good. Well,
yeah.
Let's listen to this, and then you tell us about your video and where people could find it. Here's Dion taking, not the high road, because we don't want to be Gary Patterson, but Dion on former players taking maybe some shots at his program.
Our past players have been commenting on us, which is cool with me. We're not going to be provoked to comment back or to say anything ignorantly back. I wish those guys the best. One thing that I could comfortably say, some people came here that you didn't know of, and when they left, they had a name. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that they were able to earn more than they earned here that could help their friends, family, as well as loved ones, and can help themselves. So I'm happy with that. We're still in good relationship with quite a few, but you got to understand some young men play the victim, and that's not the case. We try to treat everybody here with utmost respect and professionalism, and I hope we've done just that, as well as treating you the same way. But we would not engage in back and forth with any former players, and our aim is just to really please, support, encourage, motivate, and really prepare our men that we have on campus for the.
That's Dion. Craig, tell us about your video. And, you know, he could have said something. At the same time, I know a lot of people are kind of on him. He needs to have a good – they need to be competitive and like 7-5 or better. They need to bounce back. Your thoughts about what your video is about and also what he just said.
Well, I mean, the video is about the 4 wild cards that I feel like are in play for Colorado this year, are going to determine whether or not this year's a success. And I think bigger picture, whether his career at Colorado moving forward's considered a success or not. And so I don't know if it's uploaded or not. I hope so at this point, but it's my latest smoke break, which is just my occasional like own 15-minute deal on just random stuff. So like last week I talked about eligibility cases for a few minutes and had another one that I can't remember what it was on, but regardless, the one that should be out there or close to it is about Colorado and the wild cards. And I touched on this, but he's had a lot of players who have moved on and good players. You mentioned Seaton. Seaton's at LSU. He's with Lane Kiffin.
Isn't that what I said?
You said Ole Miss.
Okay. Well, that's me not thinking through. I meant Lane Kiffin and
Jordan
LSU,
Seaton's at Ole Miss. You got, let's see, Ryan Staub, the old quarterbacks at Tennessee. You had DJ McKinney moved on. You had London Marriott move on. I think Marriott was one of the other guys that commented, but they're all at their new schools, and they're being asked about where they were and how much better is it now. And I think some of them are probably just like, hey, I'm here now and it's great, and the other place was okay. But there are some comments, like Seaton said, my decision to come here was just based off of it just means more. Staub said, in my 3 years of college football, I haven't had as much coaching as I've had in the first month that I've been here. There's just a lot of those types of comments about it just kind of being like London Merritt, I think may have said Marriott, but Merritt said it was just a lot better than where I was, talking about being at Clemson now, facility-wise, coaching-wise, feel like it was just a better option for me. So those are the types of comments. And Dion's acknowledged they made some mistakes in sort of how they put together their team last year. But it does sound like sour grapes if you're him reading these comments and seeing these comments. And I think it's also probably somewhat of just these guys being like, no, I love it here at Clemson and it's way better than my other place. I don't necessarily think they're trying to like take targeted shots in every case. I think in some cases they probably are. Mm-hmm. But I think that overall, this is a critical year for Dion, because here I'll lay out the deal for you. They've got 2 new coordinators. Again, this is year 4, 3 OCs, 3 DCs. They're not all of his choice. He's not fired every one of these guys. Some have just left like his DC this offseason, but that's still coordinator changeover you can't happen. It can't happen on a regular basis. He's also got the personnel wild card of like, are these players going to work out? The guys that you brought in, because last year they didn't necessarily work out. And the guys you lost were some pretty big playmakers for you in some cases. Like DJ McKinney's a really good player that you lost. Draylon Miller, Omarion Miller, like a bunch of guys left. So are these guys that you're bringing in going to replace that? There's the health wild card as well for Deion, but that's more on the back burner. Hopefully he's doing well as far as that goes. And I said in my video, like, the one thing you can't question about Deion is his toughness, man, with all that he's been through over the last few years. But the biggest wild card, guys, is the athletic director, because here's the deal with him. He is not just a new athletic director, but if you'll remember, the old athletic director was the reason why Deion's in Boulder, Colorado right now. Like, he is the reason why. Rick George.
Yep.
So Rick George is gone. And now here comes Fernando Lovo. You want to know what's interesting about Fernando Lovo? If you look at his background, this isn't a dude that just fundraised and came up the chain of command as far as being athletic director and like dabbled in stuff. This dude's background is like football operations. And it's not just football operations. It's football ops at Ohio State when they were winning the 2014 Natty. It's leaving Ohio State and going with Tom Herman to Houston for the 2 monster years they had, where Paul may remember a certain Peach Bowl and a huge run by Houston and Greg Ward. The big year for Herman. They were 13-1, beat FSU in the Peach Bowl.
I'm going to look up the box.
They had the follow-up. Yeah, let's go by quarter by quarter.
Yeah.
Then they had the follow-up year, which is pretty good as well. But he was with Herman for that. He was at Texas in straight athletic director, like football operations, doing that stuff there. So now he's at Colorado. My whole thing is like Deion and Rick George were like this, so it's whatever. But now you got a guy who like knows ball. And I think that AD is going to be like, all right, year 4, what did we do? Like, if you win 8 games, then boop, no problem. But if it's anything like less than that, then he's going to be looking around like, I kind of know what I'm talking about here. I've helped put together some pretty damn good teams or been a part of them. And I don't know about this 40 in 50 or 40 out 50 in method we're doing every year. And I don't know about this, like, and so that's what I think is really interesting for Deion, is like all of those elements. And so that's the basis of my video. But the wild card, the athletic director, I think having that football knowledge, this isn't just some like random person. This is somebody that's like, I know how programs are successful and well ran, and either this is being that or this is not being that. And I think that's something we're going to find out this year.
Yeah, the assistance thing is something that is, I don't think when Staub is saying I've been coached better here, that's necessarily about Deion. I do think it's about some of the assistants. I think that,
sure, yeah.
I think that's the case. So look, Brendan Marion's there now for a reason. Like,
right.
They decided to go out and get a guy who is on the up in his career as a coordinator. And the first couple coordinators they got, or at least the first offensive coordinator they got in Pat Shurmur, has had a really good long career, but he's not on the up in his career. And he was an NFL coach, and like all these things that maybe don't apply directly anymore. So yeah, they've changed around that a lot, and they need to get some consistency and build that. And I think also Deion has a little bit of rabbit ears. Did somebody ask him that question about that? Is that what prompted it?
Oh, no, somebody brought it up.
Somebody brought it up.
I don't think you would address that without it being brought up.
I think his answer was fine. I don't think anything of it. I wish he would have stopped looking around and talked straight into the microphone, but he made a fine answer. I don't think it's a big deal, but these things do seem to happen a lot at Colorado. And I think that you're either sometimes with coaches that have big personalities, you're probably a John Calipari guy or you're not a John Calipari guy. Mm-hmm. You're a Patino guy or not.
Dan
you're a
Hurley guy.
You're a Kirby Smart guy, a Saban guy. If you're a Deion guy, great. But man, that's hard. Like, that's one of all the coaches I just described. I guarantee you a Deion guy is hard to be, because none of those other guys I described, like, I can maybe put them in the same box as how they are. Nobody's Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is his own thing. Like, That's the most unique coaching situation in literally all of American professional sports. There might be something in European soccer that you could compare it to or something like that. But in all of American sports, there is not a coach that is as big a celebrity for other things, including not even sports, than Deion Sanders. And so I think it does put a whole different way of how you can be a Deion guy and really buy into what he's doing.
But it's not like Colorado treated Seton
No.
poorly. They gave him good money. He had an opportunity. He's a hell of a prospect and player. And so sometimes kids just get caught up in that. He's a grown man now, but when he's asked about, hey, what do you think about being here? And yeah, you could look at the facilities, whatever else. I just sometimes think that's probably something that doesn't need to be said.
Well, I mean, if you're asked the question, you're going to be honest about it. I mean, he's at LSU now. So if LSU reporters are asking him, like, if you read the comments, it's not like they were like, Deion's a B and he's an a-hole and all. I mean, it's just like, they're like subtle shots that maybe aren't so subtle in some cases. But yeah, they're not necessarily directed at Deion, but they are directed towards the program. So he felt the need to respond. You could tell that he either wanted to be asked that or was hoping that was probably going to be asked so that he could sound off on it. I think he certainly held back from making it too personal, and you don't know exactly who he's talking about because I don't think he's talking about every guy that left. I think he's probably talking about a specific one or two. But I think he was able to say his piece without it getting to be too personal, and those guys got to say their piece without it being too personal, and he's still got good relationships with some of them. And then there's others that apparently he doesn't, but I think it's all time for everybody to move on. And now that everybody said their piece, truly you can go, all right, well, we've all said what we had to say. Now we can all go worry about ourselves here. But I do think, as I was talking about with those kind of 4 wild cards, that in particular with the assistant coaches, I mentioned that there's been this turnover nearly every year that he's been there, some by choice, some not. But Brennan Marion is the wild card. Brennan Marion, if they don't hire him, I don't know how you are trying to pump up this Colorado season. What are you, because the defensive coordinator, Chris Marv, is someone who comes over from Virginia Tech, but is largely a mixed bag as far as the reception of, he wasn't so great that you're like, oh, wow, they scooped him away from Va Tech. Like, no, that's a brand new staff there now in Blacksburg with James Franklin and company. But is he a guy that's respected and people think has some potential? Yeah. So he's just sort of there, honestly, Chris Marv, and you hope that if it's good, great. If it's not, like, it won't be totally shocking. But Brennan Marion, you're putting all your eggs in the basket hoping that this guy can unlock Julian Lewis and give you at least an exciting offense like you've had under Shador and Travis Hunter, where that was kind of your calling card, and can give you that oomph. Because without Brennan Marion's hire, sure, you still have Julian Lewis, but you have like no oomph. I mean, nothing. So Brennan Marion, the players they brought in, the health factor, and the AD, I think, are all really big wild cards. So you can check out that video I put out there. It's somewhere on our channel.
365 Sports on YouTube. Also, there've been some scuffles during Colorado camp. I saw that today, and they got after it. And I think that's probably sometimes you get tired of beating on your against each other when it comes to practices like you see in the NFL during the hot days in August or July. It's part of the deal.
I did like the part that he brought up, though, was the part that got attention was him talking towards the former players and responding to their comments, which, again, you can read into those how you want to read into those. But the other parts that were interesting was just kind of the vagueness, which we was talking about. Like, now it was just something I feel like I've heard from lots of coaches because I covered college football a long time now. Like, oh, I made mistakes, but now we've got the right guys in here. And it's like, okay, that's good that you acknowledge that, but like, we'll see. I've heard that time and time again from various guys. You lost some really talented players, but I do like some of the guys they brought in, like Danny Scudero. I thought was a really good pickup. Cam Perry, I think, is a really solid pickup. There's others that I think could be good players for them. But yeah, the one part he talked about that was just kind of not about solely Colorado was he brought back up the scrimmages in spring. He wanted Colorado State. He tried to make that happen, and he wants to make that happen like a home and away scrimmage with them. So he's not letting that go. He and Fran Brown tried to pull that off last year to no avail. But I feel like when we start talking about OTAs and changes in spring, that seems like it's just an inevitability. So Deion will deserve some credit for kind of helping spearhead putting that out there publicly once it probably does become a thing where you're seeing Texas face off with UTEP for a spring scrimmage in April or whatever the case may be.
I think more and more eventually guarantee games are going to go away because I think that it's not going to be the same thing because everybody's trying to get money right now and keep all the money. I do think that eventually,
including those who are the visitors for guarantee games.
But those things, it feels to me like that might be something that gets maybe we're not going to pay this team to play them anymore. We'll find a team we don't have to do a guarantee with. They're just on the lower end.
But then are they playing against somebody in a non-conference game that's not going to want a home game?
Yeah, look, those things are all.
I know it's a work in progress, but I hope for Middle Tennessee State, et cetera. only
Yeah.
because I like the underdog, not to win, but to get cash.
MTSU's beat Duke in Miami in the
Yep.
last few years. So let's not write those things off. I think those are important. I think the FCS games are probably going to go away a little bit more.
That might be.
And I think that might be to the benefit outside of the money to the FCS. But if those do go away, though, then those are a good place for spring games and all those things. Plus, since spring is a dud right now, it's not a financial winner for the schools, right? And that's all they care about. It's not anywhere near where the TV ratings where you could put on ESPNU on a Saturday in April and watch
4 games in a row.
Yeah, 3 or 4 spring games in a row, and
That would
those
be
are
kind
on.
of badass.
Yeah,
game day might even go to one of them.
You can't do any of that. So there's no, if they want to follow the NFL model of something's going on pretty much every month, they have to fix that. And doing something in spring where you have a scrimmage, which I do think that a lot of people maybe don't realize like how boring spring games can be because you leave coaches to their own devices. But if you have a scrimmage against somebody else, that's at least something. Yeah.
But here's one of the things I remember asking, it was Bryles many years ago about, you were high school for a long time. You guys had these scrimmages, 2 of them usually before you started in late August to early September. Has college football ever thought about that? And he was like, I think it'd be great. He said we probably need to do that in the spring. But remember, didn't Syracuse and Colorado try to hook that up?
Yeah,
they tried to, and then there was. I'm trying to think what the exact ruling was. That, gosh, I forget. They got turned down originally for some reason or other. It was like the paperwork or something like that, and then they tried again, and they were just denied. So the NCAA, I believe, in the second part said that they don't have their ducks in a row as far as the rules and everything in order to make that feasible right now because they're changing everything. So while they're in the midst of flux, I think that's something on the other side of that you could see as being opened up as a possibility. You talk about that, like, that answer that you got, though, is also now 11, 12 years old.
It's been a decade.
I mean, it's been a decade.
A lot has changed in that
decade
time.
Since you asked that question to that man. And so, yeah, it's been a while. But the point still remains that it's an idea that's probably better now than it was back then. And Deion's open to it, as he said time and time again, both with Fran Brown and now also in mentioning Colorado State. So I wonder, and I kind of feel like, yeah, that's something we're going to see sooner rather than later.
All right, one more thing in football, and do we appreciate you today. We're going to have on the air John Cooper, our last guide to the draft at 4. Rob Bolton on the best picks in the Masters. We'll have our picks to the 4 picks and see what happens at Augusta starting tomorrow when they tee off. And then John McClain, Hall of Famer, normally Tuesday is tomorrow, plus much more to get to. Mississippi, Ole Miss. We hardly ever hear that, Mississippi. Ole Miss and Pete Golding, obviously a hell of a run last year. Trinidad Chambliss is back. He was asked in a press conference earlier this week about the run they made in the college football playoff and how that, besides the obvious, helps recruiting and how you can continue that momentum.
Spring was really hard, right, because you're showing them Alabama tape, right? You're talking about, hey, we're going to lead the SEC in defense. Hey, we're going to lead the country in sacks. Hey, we're going to have a first-round draft pick, right? Like, you hadn't done yet. Does that make sense? And so I think that's the same thing when you're looking at a recruit and saying, hey, we need you and we need your class to get us where we need to be. That's the playoff. That's different when it's like, man, we've done that, right? Like, that's the expectation here. We're going to do it with or without you, right? We want you, and that's why you're here. But don't get it twisted. You're replaceable, and I'm replaceable. So I think, when you start checking the boxes off and you've done that, right, very recently, right, then I think it does, obviously, is very important from recruiting. But, this is a what have you done for me lately business, and so, every year is independent of its own, but I think it's really, really important for them to see the guys in the building that, all right, they've made a playoff run. They've done that. They led the SEC in this. They've done that. They've had a first-round draft pick, so they can start checking their boxes, and now they can see themselves because you've done it before, and I think that's really important.
All right, Pete Golding, Ole Miss, and having a really nice run and unbelievable stretch to the playoff before they ran out of time, basically, and yardage before losing in the playoff. But good answer. Take advantage of it. Not everybody does. It reminds me of 2021 Baylor, 12-2, number 5 in the country, beat Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Look great. Guys getting drafted high, and they didn't use the portal. And They were expecting those on the roster, like in the old days, to step up. A year older, bigger, better, faster, stronger. Did not work out. They fell on their face the next year. And even Aranda to this day knows that was a mistake.
I mean, that may have costed him his job. It's just going to take like 6 years to figure that out or not. But I think Pete Golden's a solid head coach. It's still very much TBD. He did a great job guiding them in the playoff, and much better than I think people probably anticipated in light of all the drama and fallout of Kiffin leaving like he did. But he's got more playoff wins than Lane Kiffin does, which is just kind of a funny stat. I'm not all in on them this year though. And I don't know if it's just because of the Kiffin factor, or I feel like they definitely caught some lightning in a bottle last year. I just think there are certain years where things just kind of go your way to some degree, and that's not replicatable or something you can just easily replicate. And so I don't think you just transition this over like turning the page. It's like, all right, all these guys are back and boom, we're right back where we were. There's decisions that Lane Kiffin made earlier in the season and earlier games that won or lost in those games, mostly won them those games. Will Pete Goldie make those same decisions, or will his decisions be ones that cost them games? Like, we don't know that part of it yet, but they brought back a lot of talent, starting with that QB, and the running back spot I think is going to be A-okay as well, and they'll be talented. I don't know that I'm going to have them in my playoff again this year, but I do think at worst, the minimum expectation should be that they're knocking on that door with what they brought back and the confidence that you have in Pete Golding to lead this thing forward.
All right, so there's a lot when it comes to football. Hope you enjoyed that. I love it. We have had a ton of basketball and other things that we've discussed, but it was nice to talk and discuss and hear from some of the coaches. When we come back, I want to save the David Bailey for 425 if we can. Dane Brugler released his theathletic.com, The Beast, which is the entire draft. And there's a little nugget or two about David Bailey that I had not heard about. I text Joey McGuire and a couple of other people about it. We'll get to that. But let's break here, Rez, and then come back with some college basketball news. A highly thought of pretty good point guard in the Big 12 is in the portal. And a kid from KU looking at Tech when it comes to basketball, and maybe even Louisville or somebody else. That and more. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Ted Teague today sent me this information as they are now a week into April. Huge selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. And I bought a pre-owned from them in July or May, I think it was, of 2020. 2026 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, 2.9% financing for 72 months now, plus $11,000 off. 2025 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Tradesman, $45,994 is the price, plus tax, title, and license. When it's gone, it's gone. And the 2025 Ram 2500 Laramie Mega Cab, 4x4, $11,885 off MSRP. It's a beast, and it's available to haul anything, but also still loaded with comfort, style, and a big cab in its class. Don't sleep on the all-new 2026 Jeep Cherokee. Man, such a great car. Completely redesigned, total game changer, getting up to 37 miles per gallon in this day and age when gas prices have upped to another level. And that can help you out, getting 37 miles per gallon. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Ted Teague, the CEO and general manager. David Gray handles the entire sales department, new and pre-owned. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
We're celebrating the Declaration of Deals at Allen Samuels in Waco. Right now, get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. Cash in on $11,000 off a new Ram 2500 Lone Star Crew Cab, or choose 0% for 36 months, plus no payments for 90 days. Feel secure with America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
I got a couple of stories and a couple of notes in college basketball. The NCAA, they're back at it. This is something that you've heard a lot of people say this, and again, legally, I don't know, but they want to change the eligibility rules. This is what they want. This is what you hear a lot of people talk about. And then again, well, it was also a part of that executive order, which we have heard and said it's maybe some great ideas, but will it hold water? Proposing a 5-year clock starting at the age of 19. No waivers, no red shirts, no exceptions. International players can still come, but their window to play shrinks. Now, I don't know if this is ever going to pass or if it's ever going to work without it being sued, but they're trying to at least now get to the point where it's a clock. No matter if you've torn your knee, ACL, you've transferred or coached, 5 years, you get to play every year if you want. I think that is a good idea, but it's not going to work. I wish it did, but it's not going to work.
The thing I've seen about this getting challenged is mostly how do you do this without the antitrust exemption? Because that's the only thing that kind of protects you in making these rules. Now, a lot of these things are good ideas, and it keeps 28-year-olds from playing college athletics, and it stops the constant eligibility lawsuits and all of that. But to me, and again, just like the executive order last week and this is avoiding just building a framework for the future and trying to make it go as close to the past as you can. I am all for limited transfers with contracts and all of that, as long as it does not disproportionately affect the players, which it did for so long. And they need to get all that straightened out. And I'll just say, they've got to start negotiating in earnest and be honest about what the reality is and what the reality they can achieve, as opposed to trying to turn back the clock.
I think that there are some great ideas that were proposed by the committee get together last month, and I'm on board with those ideas. I'm on board with this idea, but while I think they're great ideas, I don't know if they're actually enforceable ideas. And that's for the lawyers to sort out and sort through. And does this come across as a violation of antitrust or something along those lines? That's the tricky part with all of these things that have been floated over the last few months. And so I agree with Paul in that there's a very simple way we could get to the finish line here. But again, this is college sports, so people with power refuse to give that up. And look, I understand you don't want to just relinquish it and be like, all right, because you may never get it back. But at the same time, we are looking at like how many years of this before we finally get to a point that makes sense and where everybody can agree on what's legal and what makes college sports the best version of itself that it can be. So yeah, I think with the 5-year deal is interesting because now there would be people that could just play 5 years of sports, just play all 5 years, and then they run out of eligibility. So it would prevent your cases like, oh gosh, who's the quarterback that's been
Chandler Morris?
Well, not Chandler Morris, but the other one,
TJ Finley.
Yeah, TJ Finley. TJ Finley is who I was thinking of. So you wouldn't have any more TJ Finley situations. You wouldn't have a Chandler Morris situation either. They both would have just ran out of eligibility. But TJ Finley's one I was thinking of, just bounced like 7 schools. None of that would happen. I don't see where that would be a bad thing, except for the person who's just trying to squeeze every ounce that they possibly can out of their college career. Other than that, this all sounds fine to me. But yeah, is it legally doable? I don't know about that. And I wish we could just get to a place where this was all clear cut and lawyer proof and we all agreed and we could just play the sports and not have these constant question marks about what counts, what doesn't count, what counts here in this state, but doesn't count over in this state, what counts for this judge, but not for that judge. And we've seen that example this year where some guys have benefited from friendly courts, Trinidad Chambliss, and then some guys haven't, Chandler Morris. And some of it, Joey Aguilar also didn't benefit from a friendly court. And it comes down to the devil in the details of not only the judge, who in the case of Trinidad Chambliss is still the outlier in that he's the only guy I've seen who was crying while delivering his announcement, which was bizarre and just very strange. But yeah, it's just sort of all over the place.
There.
Oh, yeah. Just so many conflicts of interest there that it boggles the mind. But yeah, I wish this was all clear cut. I just wish as a fan it was, hey, your contract runs out. Boom, you had a 3-year contract this year 3. You didn't re-sign. All right, boom, you're gone. You're a free agent. That kind of thing would be a lot simpler than the constant court challenges and just not even having the ability to know what year a guy is in half the time.
Yeah, this is the NCAA trying to do something positive, and that's great. But today they also had the CFC sending out a memo basically saying, we don't know how to enforce these rules we made up, which I kind of said that on day one of the CFC. So like it's weird to me that they're fighting so hard when they can see the answer. It's like they have a gigantic stinky garbage can in the middle of the room and they're like, how do we get the smell out of here? There's one person going, hey, you should just take the garbage out and maybe wash out the can and it'll smell fine. And like
Lysol.
And they're like, hey, no, we don't have the mechanism to take out the garbage.
No, you got a big guy over there that can carry it out.
Yeah, they just don't want to do it.
It's like they're fighting upstream and they have some good ideas, unfortunately, about 30 years late and trying to put some of them together because they were undefeated for decades.
They instead of just taking the trash out, are like, well, what if we put a new trash bag on top of the old trash bag? It's like, nope, it still stinks. Well, what if we took the trash can and put it in a dumpster? It's like, no, it's still trash and it still stinks and it's still sitting right here. It's just you've added more layers to it now at this point. Like that's what we're doing. Instead of just take the trash out, just put it on the curb and walk away and be done with it. But the part that you have to bring up with that is that when they do that, it's not like somebody just picks it up and there's no after effects. Somebody picks it up and they drive off with not only that, but they also drive off with a lot of the power that you've had to enforce a lot of things and to have things your way. And so that's the crux of this thing is that there's a desire to try to hold on to the status quo as much as they possibly can still, even though I think everybody sees the writing on the wall that to get what they all truly want, it would take relinquishing some of that status quo. And I don't think everybody's ready to do that right now. And they're still hoping that there will be a miracle that just drops from the sky, like an executive order of some sort that just goes magic wand, boom, everything's fixed. And that's just not realistic. But I think that at this point, a lot of these guys are just like, all right, we're either going to get our magic wand or we hold on to this as long as we can. And I'm retiring in 5 years anyways. I'll let the next AD worry about this crap. I think there's some of that probably going on as well for some of the older guys.
All right. A couple of college basketball, where are they going to end up notes? Rob Wright, Baylor to BYU, played pretty well. They got knocked out. Obviously, the injuries took their toll. He is back in the portal. Rob
no,
Wright
he's not.
He's not.
No, I'm saying no, he's not.
Oh, okay. I thought, because sometimes I do not read everything. No, I really did. I even talked to somebody that covers BYU. 18 points, 5 assists, lots of expectations. It was a big deal. He signed with Baylor, and then just a few days later, he signed with BYU. He played in Provo. He's a good player. He wasn't great, but he was good enough in what he did. He's in the portal. Now, here is Rob Wright after BYU's last game of the year, and then we'll discuss this. He was asked about the future at BYU and the program.
Rob, how would you describe this season?
Ultimately, I created some brothers for life. So, I mean, it's super huge for me, and I enjoyed it a lot. But on the basketball side, it was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of adversity. We had 5 season-ending injuries, which is crazy. We lost Richie maybe 8-9 games ago, so that's been tough in its own. Just losing our leader at the end of the season, his last final year, him getting to finish it off like that, not getting to finish it off strong like I know he would have. It just kind of sucks, for that to be the last game of the season. But I feel like as a group we just fought hard. And we didn't give up. We could have easily folded. We lost those 2 on the road, West Virginia and Cincinnati. We could have just crumbled, and our season could have just been bad. And even today we went down 17, and we could have just gave up, but we chose to just fight to the end.
What does the future look like for you?
The future looks like for me, I mean, obviously, if I'm in a college jersey, I would be attending BYU for sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. There's Rob Wright. He is in the portal. In that moment if he's going to be in college next year, he's going to be with BYU. That doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. He is in the portal, and I spoke with Ashley Hodge, who's a huge basketball guy, and he said, that was starting to be the rumblings even before that last season ended, and so he is in the portal.
Well, I just reacted the way that I did because it was just somewhat disbelief, but I'm really not that surprised. I think if it's anything like last year, Papa Wright is probably shopping him around again.
I won't quote what Ashley said, but yeah.
But I think that's probably what's going on. That's what was going on last year. I'd be really interested to know BYU fans' thoughts, because last year is all, hey, we went and got Rob Wright. He's going to help us win, and he helped them improve immensely, and they were a good team. But as Rob mentioned, there are a lot of injuries derailed what could have otherwise been an even better season. They were still good, but it does feel like they fell a bit short of where they probably could have been at their peak. Nevertheless, for him to now be back in the portal, I mean, he's now one of the poster guys for why there needs to be rules, because he's not worried about school or anything like that. And not that everybody has to be, not that everybody's like, you better be all about your degree or you don't get to play. No, not that, but this is why there needs to be transfer rules, because this guy's just jumping in there every year, going and chasing the highest dollar. And like, hey, that's the free market. That's capitalism. That's like, I get all of that. But if we're talking about, like we were just talking about, just rules that make sense, it doesn't make sense that Rob Wright can just jump in the portal every offseason and then go chase the bag wherever else. I think this is another example you would put in the pile of like, why do we need guardrails? Because this is what it can turn into. But go get your paper, boo-boo. I mean, I'm not going to hate on the guy going and getting as much money as he can while he can, because I think he probably also understands there's not a whole lot waiting him on the NBA side of things necessarily. And so he's going to get the money while the money's good. And I totally understand that. But I do find it just kind of funny that there was all this back and forth with Baylor and BYU last year. And now BYU's on the receiving end of it a year later. And wherever he ends up, I will be interested to see. But yeah, this is not how it's supposed to be as far as your college career goes.
Somebody just mentioned Mark Pope was at BYU before Kentucky. They need help.
Sure,
maybe. We don't know where he's
that would make sense.
But he is in the portal. Paul, your thoughts, and then I want to get to one more on the story about Badunga.
I think Rob Wright knows that point guards and his dad know that point guards are the most valuable thing in the portal right now. And actually, if you look at the top 10 guys or 20 guys in the portal, most of them are big guys right now. And there's not a ton of point guards on the market because schools mostly are probably the most proactive with them because it's the hardest thing to find. And he did, like, BYU fans did not really love Rob Wright at the end of last year because of he was in a bit of a slump, but they didn't have their whole roster. So I understand how the dynamic changed. He's a fantastic player, but I would never take him or most any player at his word when it comes to the transfer portal. Like, he was down the line with Baylor. He already agreed to the deal, and Baylor was moving on thinking they had it done, and he left last year. So, yeah, this is someone who's going to go chase that bag. He's a 5'10" point guard who's got a ton of skills, so the NBA is not going to knock down his door. He'll probably have a nice professional basketball career, but maybe not in the NBA, and he'll be a plus for whoever he gets. He's a 19-point-a-game scorer that's probably only going to go up. And if he finds the right spot, he'll be really, really good.
Well, there's a few spots that were mentioned in the CBS article. Kentucky was one of them.
That makes sense because
Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
It has the caveat of Christian Anderson left, which Christian Anderson's left. So that would make sense that he would maybe wind up in the Big 12 and also get a massive payday. Villanova, Arkansas, Louisville, Ohio State, all for various reasons. But those were some of the teams listed for this article by Isaac Trotter on CBS. So take that for what you want. I mean, it's just
he's good.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's throwing stuff out there, and some of them that have connections that would make sense. And he also didn't rule out that he could return to BYU. But I'm telling you right now, BYU better not welcome him back. Buddy, if you're going out shop, it's like, I'm going to go out on a date, honey, and see if I like it or not. But if I don't, I'll be back here. No, we don't do that here. It wouldn't, not for my basketball program, at least. I don't care if we don't have a better point guard next year than Rob Wright. I would not be cool with that as a fan, but they're leaving that door open because, hey, have all your cake, eat it too, and keep every option that you can available to drive up the price. So masterful job by Mr. Rob Wright and his father.
I didn't have this when we first started, but Jalen Petty, 10 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists at Tech, is in the portal. That's a hit. That's a loss. They'll get theirs through the portal back at them, but that's a loss. That just came out. But here's also Flory Badunga from KU. There was a report from one of those crystal ball places that he was going to head to Texas Tech. However, the guys at the Field of 68 are now saying that, in fact, Badunga's going to, now it's down to Duke, Michigan State, Duke, Michigan, St. John's, and Louisville. No mention of Tech, so I'm not sure how that's going to end up. And he's visiting Louisville, and I believe this Friday with also Oregon transfer Jackson Shelstad.
Yeah, I think the way I've read that is maybe they set that up together to see if they might be friends. I don't know anything about that. Flory last year went in the portal, came back. I don't think that Kansas wants to do that dance again, as much as they may like him. Like Craig just said with Rob Wright and BYU, perfect world, they don't have to do this. But now that they have, they're like, okay, we can't just keep doing this every year. Can you just make a decision about where you want to be?
We're either together or we're not, but there's no open dating going on.
And the money he's going to get might be maybe a little bit more at Duke or a little bit more at Michigan than it is. And maybe that's why Kansas is just out on it and not trying to keep him back. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to go wind up in a good place. He's going to be a fantastic player there.
What is it? What is it when you cry wolf? That saying that you do that enough, then that's who you are.
That's what they're going to do. And maybe now they can get Bryson
Fool
Tiller.
Me once, fine. Fool me twice. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Maybe they can pull Bryson Tiller back in from the portal, which solves that problem. But I do think that they've probably already moved on to several other players. I mean, I know for a fact they've moved on. I've read about it. But, they've moved on to other power forward options, and we'll see what that is.
BYU will be fine. They'll find somebody else. They have the money to do it, and they also have a damn good coaching program, too. And KU will be just fine.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be okay in the long run, players and teams. But it is really interesting to see that portal open up and just all the hell breaking loose as far as who's jumping in and who's not. Last I saw, Rob Wright is – okay, then what does it look like? Like the number 2 overall guard from 247. I was just popping this up here, but yeah, there's a lot of guys in the portal. I saw the official. What was it like?
2,800.
It's like 2,800 guys in the portal.
Last night,
over half of the entire country's total players are in the portal right now.
Flory is number 1 on everybody's list.
On everybody, okay.
On everybody's list.
Is he really? Okay.
He is. He is a player that can help. There's nobody in the country that couldn't use Flory Badunga.
Okay.
Nobody that could.
Well, and that's why Kansas had him, because they get good basketball players. So there's an update on Wright, the Petty one with Tech, and he has a do not contact, by the way, tag. And that means most likely he is one of those hidden transfers that you're hearing about that they're trying to I don't know, maybe keep that from happening. So there we are.
And Christian Anderson leaving for the NBA. I mentioned it in passing, but yeah, that's obviously a big decision. And good luck to him. Great player. I'm sure Tech would have been thrilled to have him return. But yeah, I think he's making a good business choice as well. And good luck to him.
It's straight up entering. He's not doing any.
No, he's not going to see where he is.
He's not coming back.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, John Cooper, Our Lad's Guide to the NFL Draft. That is churning at us, right? You go down a tunnel in a train, or you're in a tunnel when you're driving, and it's black. And then all of a sudden you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that is the NFL Draft. John Cooper will update us on a few things. And also today, we will hear from John McClain, Rob Bolton, and more. Thank you for what you do with us every day. This is 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35 in Waco, and what they do for you if your doctor wants a better look at your back, your knee, your neck, your shoulder, your ankle, or your hip. They have a state-of-the-art imaging machine. Ideal MRI, state-of-the-art imaging machine to see what they need to see, and they've seen my body on 4 different occasions for aches and the pains as I've gotten older. And part of father time, and then also part of some wear and tear. That's what I got. Doctors were able to make a decision, and then your doctor can say, okay, we really may not want to do surgery yet. We may want to do something else, or no, this is what we got to do. It's bad because it's torn, ripped, whatever, a muscle or ligament. And it's only $497 or less every single time. Think about that. Average MRI around the country is $1,100. Average is $1,100. Theirs is $497 or less every single time, with the great people that own it, Dr. Rob Maxey and the partners at IdealMRI.com.
In the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Car has the trucks, man, they have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man, he has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
We'll have our lab guy, John Cooper, in a moment, trying to track down the right link. Let me see. Okay, he's trying to find it. I sent it at 10 o'clock this morning. Hey, there's Craig, you and Paul discussed the Big Ten championship game. Fox is buying the rights to that game from NBC as they continue to gobble up. What does NBC get in return? Do you know?
I've not read. I mean, I read about the story, but I was confused as to what the actual meaning of it is as far as all the details of it go. So you're just kind of throwing this to me. Paul, do you have more insight on this?
I do know there's some money involved, obviously a few $1 million, chump change. And NBC is going to get one more Big Ten regular season game. So Fox, who had done the Big Ten championship game for a long time, NBC did it last year, buys it back, and then NBC gets another Big Ten game. I'm not really sure as to why this came about, as to why NBC wanted to sell it. I'm sure they just needed maybe the revenue, and they felt the regular season game would be better. I don't know, but they do get another game on their calendar this year.
Yeah, I saw some chatter about it. I mean, I read they're basically buying back what was theirs to begin with, and I guess the money involved is important, but NBC is apparently not doing all that well with Peacock. I do know that's been something that's been in the trades, if you will, as Peacock is losing a lot of money. So I guess that would be part of this as well, as you get a few $1 million to help pay down your expenses or however all that works. But this is an interesting move, but not one that I've delved far enough into to have some great conversation about it.
Yeah, the weird thing about all these there's a whole lot of debt service with the streamers and the companies, because they had to spend billions of dollars to launch them and get them started and get all that done. By the way, I sent that to John as well, so he should have a new link. But all of those things they have to do, so then they have to spend money to produce things, and then things either work or don't work, and they have to put a whole bunch of different things on it, and they own a lot of brands under the umbrella. So if you're NBC and Peacock, it's NBC and it's NBC Sports and it's Bravo and all these other things that they own. Universal, that they put those movies on the back end, and if that works, great. If it doesn't, well, bummer. And sports is so expensive that if you're not seeing your return, I'm sure you got to make a decision pretty fast.
Well, and I guess part of it now, I'm looking it up because didn't know we were going to talk much about it, but you had the part, I guess, that was mentioned here where Fox holds the majority stake in the Big Ten. We know that, but NBC had been looking to sell the 26 game to a streaming service such as Prime or Netflix for as high as $70 million, and Fox did not want to have a Big Ten, the championship game exclusively on a streamer, so they used their veto power to block a sale. So that's an interesting little wrinkle that I just now read, and that would make a lot of sense as well of why you'd want to go about doing this. So Fox wants to make sure they keep all the best of the Big Ten, and Netflix doesn't get to just go grab a game, or Amazon Prime. So that would make a lot of sense as well. And NBC gets some money back, and they need some money.
We are joined by John Cooper, our last guide to the NFL draft, and he joins us as the draft again approaching us here at the end of the month. And also want to make sure you understand, if you are interested, how you can get all the information, all of what they do, with all the contacts and sources and the eyeballs on the talent available. John, thank you very much for your time and joining Craig and Paul. David Smoak. Let's start with, go ahead and promote what you have with that Our Lads Guide to the NFL Draft.
All right, you bet. Okay, well, the guide is been printed. It's in the mail. Our subscribers are getting them. Most people have started to give us some feedback, so they are out there. The mail sometimes can get slow by the end of the week, so most people will have them. But as far as if you want to order, we still have guides available. Go to the website, ourlads.com. in the top left-hand column there's a little place right next to our lads that says Buy Draft Guide. And you click on there, and there's a menu, so you can get it either PDF or you can get a book sent to you. And, we like the book ourselves. I don't know if you can see this. This is what the book looks like this year.
Yep.
And this is our 45th year. So, and it's got a lot of good content in it. So you can go to the website and you can very easily go online and order it.
You know what, John, before internet, which you and I were both, we were used to that. I used to get that from, I think, Jim Sabo, I believe. And I would use that and follow free agency with it in the draft and cross out you had the depth charts and all that. And it was fantastic because it was a very simple thing to have in your hand available. And that's how I used it more than ever.
Yeah, and that's still there. The depth charts are still there. The depth charts are online now, where you can click on it and find a scouting report for the player, which we really like, and a lot of NFL teams and a lot of people love it too out there because the website gets a lot of hits, and the depth charts are where the most of the action is. But having the book in your hand and go ahead and just old school cross it off as someone's drafted. And comparing what we said, what we thought, or I shouldn't say what we thought, what we would have done if we were making the pick, comparing that to what actually happens. It's always fun. The trades always goof it up, though. We don't have any trades in there, so that would really foul it up if we tried to do that.
Hardest thing to predict right there. You have because there's nobody out there that's saying we're absolutely trading this or we're doing that. So it's really hard to predict. If you had to guess, though, who would be a team that would trade up or down?
Well, just looking at the top of the draft, I think the Cardinals, they have a lot of needs. I could see them trying to trade down. The Giants, for sure, I could see them trying to trade down to see if they can't get, an extra pick in the first round or in the third round. I could see a team like that going down to number 9, somewhere like that, and picking up a third round pick. It just depends on how far you go down as to what kind of a pick you can get in a trade.
John, what's the lowest that you could see David Bailey from Texas Tech, the premier edge rusher, falling?
Oh, he's not. He's going to be in the top 10, and I got a feeling right now, based on what I'm hearing and what we're seeing, is that he could be the second pick in the draft. It just depends on what the Giants are looking at in terms of who's the best edge rusher out there. We love Reuben Bain, but looking at Bailey as just strictly a pass rusher, he might be the best pure pass rusher in this draft.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, Craig. There was a Dane Brugler. Dane. He's been covering the draft for a long time, but he wrote bios on all the players just like you guys do. And I bring this up because there was a note about him and an incident with a photographer after the game against Arizona State that I'd never heard of it. And I've even reached out to people that covered Texas Tech, and they had never heard of it. Some had. But it all of a sudden pops up. Then I actually was able to also talk with people that were right then and there. And they said that the NFL scouts all know the true story of what occurred. They also might be protecting their player. Have you heard anything about that? And is this also what you see and other teams playing mind games to see if a player can drop?
Well, one of the things, we don't have access to that information, so I don't know what happened. There's one of the things that happens every year with the draft is right before the draft, the week before the draft, the final security reports, as they're called, come out. And so things like that, if there's maybe somebody was arrested, potential DUI, or there's something in the background that didn't show up earlier, it's going to show up in that type of a thing. And there's guys might slip in the draft because of that. I think you saw Mike Green from Marshall last year. Something came out about him and how accurate it was, because the actual information we don't have access to. The NFL teams really protect that stuff. There's also medical information coming out. Now, again, there can be media reports of those things, and sometimes they're very accurate, sometimes they're not. But the bottom line is the NFL has the information they want, and sometimes they don't get the final information until right before the draft. So that's why sometimes a guy will fall in the draft that we don't anticipate. In our with the work we do is already in print at the end of March. So some of that stuff, that information comes out, medical, whatnot, is well beyond what we have access to and what we could do anything with anyway.
And it was kind of a pull and tug after the game. The guy broke. I think charges initially, but that just disappeared. But I was asking, I didn't know, and sometimes that also is, hey, let's put this out there and try to see if he'll fall to below number 2 or 3. Paul?
Oh yeah, definitely. The rumor mill is big, and I'm sure there's people that leak things to try to get somebody else to jump. I can remember Bill Tobin, the old who was working for the Colts at the time, once told me, we tell our scouts to listen to everything but believe 50% or less.
John, Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech is finding his way after all the workouts, after everything up the draft boards. He started out as someone I think that most people saw as a third-round pick, and now he might find his way into the bottom of the first round. On the film, I mean, look, and this is just me watching him. I haven't broken down every play and that like you guys do, but he's always around the ball, and he's super athletic, and he creates turnovers. What do you feel about him?
There is no question about it, and we like him in the top tier of linebackers, and I haven't necessarily seen other people doing that, but he's going to be the 4th or 5th best linebacker, at least in our minds, in the draft. And there's a pretty thin line between those 5 guys. You get Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. Those guys are very unique players, potentially top 10 picks. After that, you've got C.J. Allen, Jake Galday, Jacob Rodriguez, Anthony Hill, and those are some really solid football players, and Rodriguez is right there. Watching him play, he's instinctive, got great change of direction. He doesn't have the wingspan that people love, but as far as him playing the game of football, I love him. I love to watch him play. He makes a lot of plays, and he's gotten a lot of honors, and there's a reason he got all those honors. He's a good football player.
John, I saw a couple mock drafts. I'm a Commanders fan, and one got me very excited, had Jeremiah Love. Now, I've also seen like 9 others that have him not getting past number 4 to Tennessee, but I think Washington's in good shape regardless because they pick so highly. But what are your thoughts on Jeremiah Love and the possibility that he could wind his way to Washington, or is it going to be hard to get past Tennessee there?
I think it's going to be hard for him to get past Tennessee. And I think if he's there and the Giants are picking, they've stayed at pick number 5, I could see a team like the Giants jumping on him too. They got a running back they really like in Scatterbo, but he's injured with that ankle, so there's a problem potentially there. And I think running back we're talking about there, Love, he's a game changer, and he's going to make whatever team he plays for, he's going to make that team better.
Yeah, he is. He's a dude now. I heard Emmitt Smith earlier today in an interview say that, when you see in the NFL, when it comes to like franchising players, it's always the quarterback. Sometimes it's a receiver or maybe a left tackle, but it's rarely the running back. But no matter if the quarterback's average or not, they're going to usually get franchise tagged because there's not a lot of them. But they forget sometimes that a great running back, a really good running back, can make the quarterback better. Is that thought about enough in the NFL when it comes to running backs in the draft?
Things tend to go in cycles. For a while, if you go back to the old days, the running back was the key. He was the guy, the Jim Browns going all the way up, the O.J. Simpson, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders. You talk about a whole bunch of backs that just moving up the line. That's what you were talking about. You could be a great football team with a great running game and a caretaker quarterback. Bart Starr was not a great elite quarterback. He was a good quarterback, but he had Jim Taylor, Paul Hornung, playing with him in those great Green Bay Packer teams. I'm going back. I'm dating myself. I apologize.
That's okay.
But anyway, and of course the game changed. The passing game, the rules changes that made the passing game more prevalent, and the game is that way. So what you started to see was teams are starting to get smaller players out there playing linebacker that can cover. You're talking 6 defensive backs on the field on third down or long yardage situations, and the game changed. And I think the game is evolving back a little bit. You're seeing 12 personnel from these teams more, 2 tight ends. You're not seeing the 2-back set in the Green Bay Packers sweep anymore, but what you are seeing is, 12 personnel. You're seeing the big tight end that can block. You're seeing sometimes a fullback like a Patrick Ricard. You're seeing these kind of players on the field with good-sized running backs that can run. The Ravens went that route with Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley is a great running back that obviously made the Eagles better. And so you're seeing a trend back in that direction. But you still have to have the great passer. The game is built for that. But the running game is becoming more important. That's where a guy like Love is going to come in handy for some team that believes in running a lot of 12 personnel and running the ball.
Do you think that his backfield mate, Jadarian Price, gets into the first round? He's the second-rated running back by most services, and he's a big play guy as well. Maybe not as complete of a back as Jeremiah Love, but gosh, there's only one of those guys every year or so. But Jadarian Price is really good as well.
Yeah, you can put him on any other team, and he's not going to share the load as much as he did with Love. He's a terrific back, and we could definitely see some team looking at him and saying, hey, we've studied this guy. We like what he brings to the table. He could be, our outside runner. He does a lot of things well. He could be the guy we take in the first round that needs a running back. It just depends on what the team really needs, because you're going to take the best player available at a position of need. And unless there's a big separation, a team will go that route.
John, I think one of the last times you joined us, I asked you about Arizona State, and Kenny Dillingham just seems to be pumping guys out. Jordan Tyson, obviously the headliner there, but I noticed in one of y'all's latest mocks, you have Keith Abney there at the end of the first round to Seattle, and I know that's not like widespread expected. So your thoughts on Abney and possibly, sneaking into that first round?
We think there are about 4 or 5 cornerbacks that we have second round grades on that are all, depends on who you like, what you want, but they're all, as far as talent is concerned, right there. And we're talking about Abney, CC from South Carolina, Johnson, Keontae Scott, D'Angelo Ponce. We love all of those guys. And it just depends on, what the team wants. If the Seattle Seahawks need a corner, which I believe they do, any one of those 4 guys could be their pick. I don't know that Colton Hood would slip down that far, but he could. He's right in that ballpark. We think, Delane, McCoy, and at one point we thought Terrell was the guy, but Terrell's got some injury issues that could affect his draft status, and he may drop down below someone like Colton Hood. So you can put him in the same ballpark.
It's hard for anybody to sneak under the radar much because everything is so out there. Is there a player, though, that has moved up perhaps more than anybody else, especially in that first day or second day, that's jumped more than just a couple of spots, but maybe even 10 or 12?
I think a guy like Bailey at one time, because people were worried about how he played the run. He was probably thought of as a mid-first round pick at one point. I think if you watched the end of the season, he started to really come on playing the run, and you started to see more of a complete player. And I think he is a guy that jumped into potentially the second pick in the draft. I think Sonny Styles is another example of a guy that I don't think was that highly regarded at one point. Another guy, Akeem Mesidor from Miami. Ruben Bain gets all the headlines, but Mesidor is a guy that we could see being in the middle of the first round, whereas a lot of people looked at him as maybe a second round pick. And conversely, there's some guys that have dropped possibly, maybe because of some things that came out at the combine, maybe because of an injury issue. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, with some of those guys. But those are some examples. And Rodriguez, guy we just talked about. He's another example of a guy that, for some reason, he was not on all these draft services considered that high. I think some of the length issues might have been a part of that. But boy, I tell you what, watch him play football and watch the tape. I think he's a guy that could very easily, be at the bottom of the first round or early second round. There's a lot of really good, talented football players that are ranked from about 20 down to about 60 this year. And it's going to be, a lot of people are going to be surprised by where some of these guys get drafted.
if I were a GM and I needed a cornerback and I was picking in those spots of 20 to 60, two guys that I think maybe wouldn't ring that bell to a lot of people would be Keontae Scott of Miami and D'Angelo Pons of Indiana. I know that Pons is small, but my God, he's like a Wolverine in coverage, and Keontae Scott is so athletic and seems to me to be a perfect nickel corner in probably about 15 or 16 different defensive schemes in the league.
I can't disagree with that at all. I mean, I don't know how much I can add to that, because I totally agree with you on both of those guys. We love them both. They're not real big. D'Angelo Pons is 5'0", 182 pounds. But hey, remember Darryl Green? He was one of the best corners that played in the NFL. I know you got a Washington fan I'm talking to, so you're fully aware of Darryl Green. But D'Angelo Pons is that type of player. He's got tremendous twitch. He's got a radius to go get the ball. He may be 5'0", 5', but he plays 6 feet tall. I guarantee you. Just watch him play. Watch how he can get up and break up passes, getting the inside hand in the basket. He has got twitch. He got plant and drive. I love him. Love to watch him play. I'd love him on my team. And I wouldn't be surprised if he snuck up higher than where we have him. Keontae Scott, great nickel corner. Real solid football player. Good speed, tackles well. He does what you want. Probably a second-round pick. Both those guys are probably second-round picks. But very good football players.
Okay, John. So we're what, 3 weeks out from the draft? You're in an NFL personnel room, scouts, coaches, everybody. And we hear about the war room. We see what they do on the days of the draft. But kind of set us up with what's going on now. We've had all what you have. Maybe some still personal days that guys come in. But what's going on right now? And when will they set the board? Is it a week before, 5 days before? How does that go?
Well, they've got a pretty good idea of what the board is right now. I mean, the board is set. They've got a board. Every draft room is a little different. Some do it with magnets. Some do it with boards with things that are on with computer projecting on the screen. But either way, there's a board, and that board can change. There's going to be debate. Scouts, coaches, the pro days are going to be over. I think the last one is April 10th. Coming up this week. So then the teams go in, the scouts are off the road, the coaches, they all gather, and they start having draft meetings. And they reset the board. So that's going to be that's going on now. I'd say that's probably going to start for sure in earnest next week. And so you're going to have that week and a half before the draft that we're going to really get after it. The coaches that have been evaluating players, they're going to give what their reports are. They're going to, the way that a lot of teams do it, they've got a great big table and a great big room, and the coaches, the scouts, they all sit around the table and they have a chance to have their 2 cents worth on those things. And having known a lot of coaches and scouts over the years, they've told me some very interesting stories about what goes on in those meetings. And, then they generally try to keep it very close to the vest in terms of what goes on in those rooms. So you don't hear too much about that. They kind of keep it to themselves. And in fact, I can remember one scout I used to talk to when I was doing some pro days, did a little Blesto work back in the day, who says, "I can't talk to you anymore. My phone is practically turned off. So no more. Don't call me."
Did you ever get a tip on draft day of what was going on? Did you or you leave them alone, like that they've got a lot on their mind?
Yeah, we do some things with some teams, and sometimes we'll get a text or a call from someone, wanting to know what we think. And it's usually either or. Who do you like? This guy or that guy? That kind of thing. In other words, and we don't do a lot of that. We used to do more. We do a little bit, with some people that we know, and it's just somebody who's got an opinion that they're trying to get a little bit of someone to bounce it off of. But they've got a pretty good idea. And most of that comes late in the draft. It's not so much early in the draft. I mean, you get into that first and second round, they know. When you get into down into the third day, and you've got a lot of guys that are all together, and trades are being made, selections are being made. They may have 4 or 5 guys that they slotted in that particular area, and all of a sudden they're all gone, and they really want to take someone, and so they've got to make a decision. So there's some, as you get later in the draft, there's some flying by the seat of their pants. They've got a plan, but sometimes the plan goes awry as there's nobody left. So sometimes they scramble, they try to trade down. Sometimes they've got a couple players that they aren't sure of. And, they want to do a good job all the way through the draft. They want to get the best possible player with each pick. So they're going to be, pretty careful with that.
John, this is a totally random question, and I just say this because every time I think about the draft at this time of year, I think about Gil Brandt, who's a very good friend of ours, especially with Smokey. We knew Gil for a long time. Who do you think – I mean, you don't have to say Gil because, I think that's like saying who's the best basketball player. But who was – outside of Gil, who do you think is the greatest NFL draft analyst scout person that you've ever encountered?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I mean, I didn't know that many of them personally, but the ones I did, I was always very impressed with George Young with the New York Giants. Some of the things he did, they had some innovative ways of doing things. I really admired him. When the Philadelphia Eagles had John Wooten, I thought the world of John Wooten. He worked very, very hard at it. He was with the Eagles and then later with the Ravens. Those are some guys that I had a lot of respect for. Green Bay, had Ron Wolf. He was a guy I had a lot of respect for. He was kind of a draftnik too. He loved our lads. He loved all this stuff. So those were some guys, back in the day, so to speak, that, I had some admiration for.
What about Bobby Beathard? He and Gibbs with Washington, with what they were able to do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Bobby Beathard was top notch. They like to trade. They like to. They did some things that are a little unorthodox, but they did a great job putting together a great several teams in Washington for sure. Yeah, Bobby Beathard. There's a name. I didn't know Bobby Beathard personally, but I did know the other guys that I mentioned to a degree, and so that's where my familiarity comes from.
One more thing, John, and thank you for your time. Is there anybody that's in the top 5, let's say even a David Bailey or whoever? The Cowboys are at 12. They have 20, so they have collateral that would, and not just because they want to be seen on TV and everyone talks about them. They do that already. But is there anybody that would drop to, let's say, 5 or 6 that they would get on the phone and go, what do you need? We want that pick.
I think the Cowboys need a linebacker. They need somebody on the edge. They need a corner. They need a lot of things on defense. And I think both of their picks should be on defense. If they wanted to trade up, if a David Bailey were to fall down, they could use a guy on the edge. Even a Reuben Bain, because he's a guy that can help them get some push inside too. I think Bain could. I don't think he's going to fall to them. One time we thought Styles was going to fall to them. We don't think so now, but I could see that would be a player they would be very interested in. I think they're at 12. They're going to have a pretty good corner to choose from. I really like Jermon McCoy. He had a good workout. I think he would make a good Cowboy. But they need a linebacker. They need an off-the-ball linebacker. I think that's a number of critical needs, and they could use anything on defense. So best defensive player available, I would like to see them take. And if it means trading up to get somebody, so be it. But with 2 first-round picks, you can come away with 2 pretty good players with where they're picking.
Thank you for your time, buddy. Is it okay? I know you got a lot of segments you're doing. Maybe next Wednesday, if we get you again as we close in on the draft.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Good to see you, sir. Thank you. And sorry about the mix-up. I think I realized the email was my fault. I had .com, not .net. That's why they asked me, and they shouldn't, to send out the video links. Thank you, sir. John Cooper.
Well, yeah, that's great.
And get the preview magazine. It is phenomenal. I can't wait. It is fantastic. All right, that's John Cooper with us. Around the corner, we'll have Rob Bolton on the Masters. Paul, who's going to be a part of it? You, me,
and Rob.
It's it.
I think.
We have no chance.
We are like Rez is not a golf
Logan's
fan.
not here, is he?
He
likes to play golf.
Logan's not here, which he'd be here tomorrow. Garrett doesn't know anything about the Masters, which it surprised me because he knows about a lot of things. Andrew's not a golf fan. He was listing off some golfers to me the other day, and I was like, "You've never heard of these guys, have you?" He's like, "No." So
he's watching rowing.
And Craig is a conscientious objector. So
yes,
we have to just do you and I.
Yeah,
and Rob.
Okay, that one less, four less players to be picked. So we ought to have superstar teams. So there we are with that. Now,
I mean, I can call Emery and see if he can hop on.
Emery's such a sweet kid.
He is. He's. If I had a son, it would be like Emery.
Where do you guys think Jeremiah Smith would be if he was in the draft this year?
Second overall.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a story where I don't know, it was earlier today. He passed
Chris Lowe,
$10 million transfer offers. I mean, if he had gone to the portal, he could have commanded $10 million, which is believable, also kind of insane and unbelievable. But I mean, as talented as he is, I think there's a team, a Texas, Notre Dame, Michigan, somebody that would be willing to get into a bidding war for that young man. So he would go very, very highly.
Chris Lowe did a story on 3.com, and the quote was off-season, I guess people, hey, about us, including Miami. He goes, no reason to go back home, not when I'm at the best place in the country. I came to Ohio State for a reason, to win championships, develop as a player and a person, and keep building on this legacy. I might have grown up in South Florida, but I'm a Buckeye. That's not changing. I wasn't going anywhere. And he did mention, as Craig mentioned, that over $10 million easy had he gone into the portal, but that's not how I operate. So really good article.
He took a visit to FSU and to Miami like a week,
as a high schooler,
like 2 weeks before signing day. And I think that was just to let Ohio State know that, hey, better make sure that you have all this money together. But he is the total Buckeye. You can hear it in his voice last year. I never thought he would leave. And the other thing is, outside of maybe two programs, where's he going to go, even with Brian Hartline gone, and be better suited to be drafted in the top 5 at wide receiver than Ohio freaking State?
Smith and Jigga just signed the highest contract ever. You got Egbuka, who was drafted last year, along with all the other Ohio State players. They have made a killing from it's just been wide receiver. Do
you want to just go ahead and go right to Rob? He's in there. He's in there.
Okay, there we go. Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com with us on 365 Sports. You can go take a break, Craig, if you want to, because he's not going to be a part of the draft. And we are. And that means, Rob, this should not take long. So let's talk about the damn tournament. Scotty Scheffler has been at times, maybe because his wife was going to have a baby, a little bit this and that, but he seemed like his irons that are always so laser sharp has not been that way. But let's get to it. Rory's trying to defend it. Scheffler's trying to win another one. And there's probably, 5 to 8 that would be in that golden pond of who can win this thing?
Greetings, gentlemen. Always good to see you. You finally get to see me. Apologies to women and children watching. Great to be with you, and Happy New Year. It's funny. I went into this week wondering what the narrative would be. There really isn't one that jumps off the page. Yes, Scheffler's irons are not good, and that qualifies, but it's one of many. Rory defending, but will he feel the need to defend at any point? He has nothing more to prove. Wait for that on the weekend, sort of thing. He doesn't get off to a hot start often enough. So there is that, and then we can look to other guys. But this is wide open this week, and that's what makes it fun every once in a while. And this is one of those once in a whiles. So we'll see. I was disappointed watching all of the press conferences, including Scheffler's, him specifically not asked why or what's going on with his irons, only the state of his game. Nothing specific. So he didn't get into specifics. So if it's out there, I apologize. I've missed it. But there's nothing necessarily to be excited about with him. He's not even in the top 10 of my power rankings, and he doesn't deserve it to be, despite the fact that this is the Masters, and he's a 2-time winner in the last 4. That's where we are this week, because it all matters where we are right now. Right now, he's had the rest. but having a second child is awesome and all that. But we need to see more from him, and we haven't seen enough. Hasn't finished inside the top 10 in his last 3 starts, and there's nothing necessarily to get excited about with him right now.
What do you think about Brooks Koepka coming back to the PGA? I mean, he's been playing in the Masters. It's not like he skipped it, but with everything that's gone on, and if you watch Full Swing, you know he is maybe more open about his emotions than most. Maybe it's being married to a supermodel. I don't know. But do you think that he's going to be in the right headspace to contend now that he's maybe back where I think he kind of always really wanted to be and took the live thing. It was just a straight cash deal for him.
So he's married to a supermodel. I don't know either, Paul.
Yeah.
So I can't relate. Lovely woman, by the way. Just for the record, it comes down to his putting right now. It's been entirely hot and cold. As far as what's in between the ears, this is what he lives for. This is what he gets up every morning to practice for. It's these types of events. So how confident, really, the question for me is, how confident is he to get the ball into the hole with the 14th club? And right now it's probably less than 100%. Got to be higher than 50. But if he's rolling it well, it's top 5 automatic in a sense. He knows what he's doing around this place. Still looking for that first victory at Augusta National. So I hesitate to say that I can give him a lot of love. I'm never going to give him as much love as you give him, Paul. We all know that. But if I liked him in his last start and he didn't perform because of the putter, I liked him because the putter had turned a corner. So flip a coin essentially with that guy. We know what we're getting. We know who he is. In terms of the progression back to the PGA Tour, that's definitely been an incredibly good step for him in his life. And now that he's a few starts into it and has a couple of good finishes at home in the Florida swing, that matters. But as you said, he's been playing in the Masters anyway, so it's a bit of a parachuting in, no matter where he happened to be, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, it's the putter this week, and the confidence just. It's just like with Scheffler and the irons. It's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, none of these guys are really coming in. The guys we normally talk about are not coming in, gangbusters, and he's one of them.
Okay, so of those who are on the Live Tour that are playing this weekend, who is most likely to win? DeChambeau, and I'm not trying to take your picks because we're not going to get many, but DeChambeau or Rahm?
So DeChambeau is probably the number one narrative because of what happened last year. He's not a guy that gets humbled very often, but it was a humbling experience for him, and he's at a time in his life now where he can learn from that. Certainly reached fully formed to maturity as a professional golfer and doing so many other things that are good for the game, and his rhetoric is on point. So right now, even though Rahm is number 6 in my power rankings, as a former winner, not 3 years ago of the Masters, DeChambeau presents a little stronger in terms of his trajectory. You know, he played here 7 times, didn't contend, outside the top 20 in all of them. And then bang, bang, top 10, in contention on the second 9 last year and didn't win, and saw Rory complete the career Grand Slam right in front of him. If that doesn't motivate him, nothing will. Not that he needs any more, but that certainly qualifies. So I would say if I went back and rewrote the power rankings after watching all the press conferences and picking up more information in the last 48 hours or so, I might slot DeChambeau a little bit higher, and Rahm maybe down a notch just to make room. But it's a bit of a pick 'em between those guys.
Okay. It's such a beautiful place, and I always wish that anyone who loves golf or anything, even life, should one day just walk around.
No doubt.
The undulations, because it doesn't, even with the new type ways we can see things on TV so clearly, it does not do it justice in any way, shape, and or form. So, Rob, you are like a 10-time champion. We are down to we were going to have 3 of us, but I've made an executive decision.
All right.
You will get the first pick. Paul will get the second pick. We're not going to do any of this flipping. I get the third pick, and the chat room is going to get the fourth pick. And this is how we'll do it. You pick, Paul, you pick, I pick. And then as soon as I make a pick, I will look for the first name in the chat room, and they'll build a team too. And they get back-to-back picks. So the chat room, if you don't see a name or hear a name, you have to put in two, and all the first two I see will add to your team.
That's a wild idea, and I love it.
I love
Ditto.
it. A lot of
Absolutely.
golf. They love you, by the way, Rob. They think you have a great voice and that you should do the next guy that does NFL films.
Oh,
John Facenda.
we'll talk offline, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let me Rob, Paul, me, and then the chat room. Do not if you premature your pick, it doesn't count. We're not going to look at it, and then we go backwards.
As in life.
Yes. As in life.
It's so true.
All right, Robbie, 10-time champion that you are. Fire away. It's good to see you. It really is good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. I'm going to give Paul five minutes to wax poetic about things in life. I'd like to hear more of that. So, look, the power rankings, I always usually start with number one, and it would behoove me not to start with Scotty Scheffler. However, I am beholden to the work, and this is a context that matters. We want all four of these guys. We're drafting four each, correct? As usual. So we want all four of these to make the cut. If you go 1, 2, 3, miss the cut, you're done.
Yep.
I want guys who can make the cut. So I'm going to go down to number 3 and pick Xander Schauffele to lead me off.
All right. So Paul Catalina, he took Xander Schauffele.
I am going to take number 2 in your power rankings, Rob. I had my friend draft last night. I was the 7th pick, and I got this guy, Ludwig Aberg. I'm taking Luds.
He's a Texas Tech grad too.
Yeah.
All right. I'm an idiot because I just saying maybe that he can snap out of it because he's still the number 1 player in the world. Although I don't like the way he's played, I have to go with Scotty Scheffler.
Got to.
All right. So getting him 3 is like a Christmas gift, but that isn't. Now, chat room, fire away. First 2 names I see, those are the next picks. Get in the chat room and give us 2 names, not Xander Schauffele, not Oberg, and not Scotty Scheffler. And if you don't pick under the clock, we move on to the next one. Paul, do you see anybody? You don't even know where the chat is.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the chat room. You better go. Hold on just a second. 3, 2, 1.
Let me hop in. Let's see.
Yep. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. I think I scared him by telling him not to pick anyone prematurely.
Focus, fellas. Focus.
All right. We're going to skip you. Here we go. John Rahm. Kim Coulter says John Rahm. That's a great pick. Probably should have been the one I took. And now the second pick. Rahm's taken. Chat room. Who is it? We have Scheffler, Xander, Oberg, and John Rahm have been taken. So we go and wait for the next one. All of you guys talking your whatever in the chat room, like Paxton, etc. Here we go. DeChambeau. Wow.
There we go.
Holy smokes. It might not have been a very good idea. I am going to take I think he plays free and easy. I understand that there's a lot of pressure being the defending champion. Imagine the burden that has been on his shoulders, and I will take Rory.
Well, since I'm sticking to the work, Rob, I just really admire him, and his work actually helps me in my draft tremendously. Lost last year the PGA by 1 stroke, and all of my guys, the first 3 were in Rob's power rankings. So I'm going to go look, I've got number 2 already in Oberg. I'm taking number 1, Matt Fitzpatrick, the Jolly Brit.
Yeah, he's playing really well too. Yeah.
Luds and the Jolly Brit. There's your team name.
Yeah, it's the international team right now. It's the international team. Rob, you get back-to-back choices, sir.
Yeah, Paul. I wasn't going to bring up the 25 PGA 9 months ago, but that's a good memory for me, at least for me. Yeah. So look, I mean, this is so deep this week that I'm thrilled to have my 4 and 5. I'll just go Cameron Young and Tommy Fleetwood. Bang bang.
Boy, and Young hammers it, and it's a long ball course. Although you got to do everything right. And who's your next pick?
I'll go Tommy Fleetwood.
Tommy Fleetwood, who's always involved. So
Tommy
happy
one time
when he did it last year. All right, Paul, back to you. You have Oberg and Fitzpatrick.
I'm just going to keep it international, guys. I'm going to Scotland now, and I'm going Robert McIntyre,
the lefty, and he is really good. No question about it. I know who I'm going to take with my 4th pick. I am going to take Justin Rose. he has done really well. Like there's a stretch where he's done well. It doesn't seem to be a course because he hits the ball pretty long, Rob. He hits it longer than you think, but he is laser sharp and also a guy that, gets that look in his eye.
Yeah, man for the moment, 2-time playoff loser at the Augusta National. Doesn't matter of his age. He knows his place around there. And he elevates on the biggest stages, certainly some of the most iconic. He's won on some of the most iconic tracks he's on which he's played. And he's already a winner this year. He checks all of the boxes. So I love how go back to your visceral reaction to before you picked him, how aggravated you were, even though Scheffler and McIlroy are already on your team.
I know.
You have defined grinding when it comes to this thing.
Yeah, I think McIntyre is the ultimate grinder. But I agree with what you say. I look up and go, oh, damn, I got Scheffler and Rory.
The two picks.
All right.
The two picks. Bobby B and SJL +6 are Goddard and Gary Woodland.
Damn, they got the bombers.
Yeah.
Two big boys. Goddard looks like he has the Nike everything. I swear to God, if you're not careful, it looks like Koepka.
Yeah.
He really does.
I also, Gary Woodland made the whole golf world cry. So that was unbelievable. So.
All right, now it's back to me. I know this is a bad pick, but I love the guy, and he just won. Rob, look at me in the eye. JJ Spawn, is that even on your radar at all?
No.
Yeah. JJ Spawn is my pick. I love the guy. The U.S. Open, what he did last week. Yeah. I know he's not a bomber, but I'm going to take him.
All right. He's all yours. I thought you were going to take Tyrrell Hatton, but that leaves Hatton for Paul, our favorite guy. That's
not going to happen. I'm going to stick number 11 on Rob's power rankings, Hideki Matsuyama.
Beautiful.
I'm all international. I'm going global, baby.
Yeah, Hideki Matsuyama, that's what you got?
Yeah.
Yep. Great player. He's won it before. The great scene with his caddy bowing at the end of it when he took the flag and put it in the hole. All right, Rob, finish it off.
Such an eclectic series of teams here. I'm with you, Paul, the dynamic of inviting the chat room to make its picks. Watch them win, and then bragging rights for the rest of the year.
God. And they are.
You'll have some fun. By the way, before I make the last pick, we had comment sections on the website from March of 14 through January of 21. I only know that because I absolutely loved diving in that pool. It was so entertaining. You can communicate all the time. I can only imagine how much fun you guys have with the comments. People don't realize. And look, as a sports fan, I've jumped into that stuff. Not for work purposes, and I know what it's like. It's not like you can't play both sides. It is so meaningful. It is so important. It's so valuable. I love it. Yep. So I'm going to stick with the power rankings. The last guy inside the top 13 is Patrick Reed. Won 8 years ago. Great spot. He's in great form. Loves this place, et cetera, et cetera. Has a short game. He needs to get up and down. Looks like the green's going to be really slick on the weekend. That's who I want.
That's a good pick.
And the good news is his family will get to see him when he walks past their house.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And you talk about a guy that's probably playing free and easy because he made the decision. He's doing well on the European tour. He's playing really well there. So, all right, Rob. Okay, you see our teams.
Yeah.
There's some bangers on all of them. I think you're upset, and I probably lost everything with the JJ Spawn, but I just want to hug the guy.
Well, I think my knowing you for a long time here now, I think you only took Spawn because Phil Mickelson isn't in the field. He's dealing with some personal matters. So,
there's a couple of guys with 8 jackets that aren't in the field. They can't.
Very true. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's who we wanted. I think for the first time since we started doing this, I mean, we really got everybody we wanted. There's always been a little bit of hem and haw. That you open with Scheffler and McIlroy really is now the narrative of the draft. If those guys don't finish inside the top 5, then it's a real disappointment. So there's a lot of pressure on them to perform from you, Smokey. Hope that pre-tournament pep talk you give him is going to work for you. And Spawn may be right there. He might be the backbone, and Rose, of course, is terrific. But I love Paul's angle, the internationals. That never sucks when it comes to the Masters. And then the chat room all over the place. Goddard is the only first timer in the field who was drafted. He's the shortest on the betting board. He hits it where he needs to hit it. He's so confident and comfortable in his own skin when it comes to learning. And he really plays everywhere. He reminds me of like a Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, and others who who have enough length off the tee, certainly, but they adapt so well to whatever course they're playing in different times of their career. And Goddard's only, 26 and already a 3-time winner, or 4-time winner now, I should say. So that's a strong pick, despite the fact that he's a debutante. But again, without the narrative, we're looking probably at a first-time Masters winner, and if not a first-time major winner, just because there isn't a strong a guy, again, stepping forward that says, I'm going to really go ahead and take this thing. Last year was Rory McIlroy winning the career Grand Slam, and suddenly we're like looking around for something else, and there really isn't one predominant factor. So we should all have a high level of confidence entering this particular tournament with these guys on our draft. Of course, by Sunday, we'll all feel differently.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely no question. Somebody in the chat just mentioned them trying to make picks when they had this opportunity that they always want, and then they panicked. It was like 25 monkeys blanking. So, all right, I'm going to post the scores. Rob, I know you will as well. Your feed is Rob Bolton Golf on your Twitter feed. Thank you, buddy. Great to see you. Thanks. Have a great week with the Masters.
Likewise, guys. Take care.
Rob Bolton with us. And so we got the teams. I'll post them in the chat, and we'll also look at where we are. All 4 players. You could have the guys who finished first, second, and third. But if everybody doesn't make the cut, your team is DQ'd. It's part of what we do and the tradition, unlike any other. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that or not, but I
think so.
Coming up, Hall of Famer John McClain. This is 365 Sports. North Star Funding Partners. Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage. The Insured Retirement Advantage is a smarter way to help you achieve your savings and retirement goals, as it will help you create a supplemental tax-free income stream, maintain liquidity for other investments or business needs, and protect your family in the long term. Transfer wealth efficiently. It's a unique solution for clients who are financially strong, make a minimum of $150,000 annually, but haven't yet achieved their savings and retirement goals. You can call 623-256-6902 or go to NorthstarFundingPartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB, your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Here we go, this 5 o'clock hour, awaiting John McClain. But until then, we started yesterday with the top 100 players from theathletic.com and their NFL draft. We did the first round. Here is who is projected for round number 2. The top 100 players overall, we'll have round 3 tomorrow. Malachi Lawrence, in fact, Craig, you brought him up yesterday with Mark Daniels. The edge, another edge for the Big 12, and they have him projected early on in the second round to Arizona.
Yeah, when they lost the guy below him, and that would stand to be a pretty huge blow, and it definitely hurt UCF, but ultimately they were still pretty okay on the defensive front, and Malachi Lawrence was a big part of the reason why, and yeah, he's been getting a lot of play throughout this draft process. UCF still trying to find its way as a program, as a team, but they've definitely had some, between Malzahn and now Frost, they've definitely had some players that are of interest and some individual talents that have been pretty good standouts. And Malachi Lawrence is one of those guys. Lee Hunter was one of those guys until he went to Tech and became a further standout there. But yeah, I think Malachi Lawrence is a great player. Good to see him getting some love as a high round 2 type of guy. That's where I've seen him mostly as well.
Lee Hunter, the big, thick, I mean, you mentioned him, the Texas Tech defensive line was so good. That's round 2. There are the 4 players among the top 100 picks in the NFL draft with the Big 12. Still nothing with John?
No, he's there.
We got good. Okay, John McClain. We'll do round 3 tomorrow, Rez, with the show. We're now joined by Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. John, thank you very much for your time, and always great to have you. The draft is approaching. Anything of interest that's kind of caught your attention, especially this week?
The only thing that I am thinking about right now is the first 3 picks. They're not going to take a running back. Does Tennessee take Jeremiah Love, who a lot of people rate as the best overall prospect, or do they go for an edge rusher? A lot of people have them in mock drafts taking edge rusher, and they try to justify it by saying Robert Saleh's a defensive head coach. Well, that doesn't mean jack squat. Fact is, they've signed 2 defensive linemen in free agency. They already have one of the best tackles in Jeffrey Simmons. And when you're a young quarterback like Cam Ward trying to improve in your second season, and you have a guy who is the best runner and a great receiver, and he can help you so much, not to mention help control the ball and keep the defense on the bench, they'd be crazy to pass him up. Their GM, Mike McGonzie, this is his second draft. And as I say on my shows in Nashville, if they take an edge rusher over Jeremiah Love, they will be able to hear the cheering in Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis. Because if you think about edge rushers, how many times do they touch the ball? How many touchdowns do they score? How many touchdowns do they prevent? What good? You look at all the other great edge rusher, Myles Garrett, what's he been able to do? Max Crosby. There's a lot of guys that are great rushers, and it's futile for them because their teams are so bad. So that's the one to me that is could go either way. And if Jeremiah Love does not go 4, And there's some teams thinking that Arizona may trade the 3rd overall pick to somebody that wants him. There's been speculation about the Cowboys. I don't see it. Cowboys got problems on defense, not offense. And so to me, that's the one I'm watching the most. The other one is David Bailey, the great rusher from Texas Tech. He's the best pure pass rusher, gets off the ball quicker than anybody who's been recorded in this draft. I think who gets him is going to get a guy who's going to be great. But boy, give me Jeremiah Love over anybody if I'm the Tennessee Titans.
When it comes to the Titans, John, I would think that this draft could lean a little bit more offense just because of what you said about Robert Saleh. And you just got Cam Ward last year. Outside of, they got Ridley and they've got some guys that maybe they like, but is there anyone on that offense that you would say like, oh, well, they're covered here? I don't really think so.
I think you're right. They need another wide receiver or two. Calvin Ridley hadn't done jack squat since they paid 90-something million for him. They've drafted heavily to improve their offensive line. And Saleh is going to call the defense. He did not do that when he was the head coach of the Jets, and he's a great defensive play caller, did a tremendous job when he went back to the 49ers last year, and they had let so many players go and had injuries, and they were still one of the top defenses. So I think they need to work heavily on that offense. And another thing, in 2027, they're moving into their new stadium, and you need to put butts in the seats. You got to sell suites and club seats, and everything has gone up in price. You better be fun to watch, not just good. Well, that's not going to happen unless you start adding playmakers to your offense to help Cam Ward in his second season.
John, saw where the Texans picked up the 5th-year options on C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. Other than the obvious, what does this kind of mean, do you think, moving forward as far as how this will work? And I know we've asked you about C.J. Stroud a lot. He's certainly a guy under a big microscope. But, man, it's been amazing to see Will Anderson become the player that so many people thought he could be.
Well, Craig, I've seen a lot of nincompoops locally and nationally who acted like they might not pick it up on Stroud. Well, of course they were going to pick up that option on Stroud. I do not expect them to give him a $280 million extension right now. They're going to give Will Anderson Jr. an extension because there's no doubt in anybody's minds he's earned it. Finished second Defensive Player of the Year to Myles Garrett. He is a great pass rusher and run stopper. He and Danielle Hunter, the best pair of outside guys in the NFL, and he deserves every penny he gets. I suspect he will be the highest paid player in defensive history when he signs this new deal. And if Stroud improves on what he did last season, then he'll get one next year. They don't have to do anything till after 5 years, and then they could franchise him 2 years, so that'd be 7 years. Now, that's not going to happen. They saw what happened last time when they redid a quarterback after 3 years, Deshaun Watson. He was great. And then, of course, it all fell apart. And Stroud has not earned that extension yet, even though the Texans are only one of 2 teams that's won a playoff game in 3 consecutive seasons, and he's been the quarterback for all 3 of those playoff victories.
John, this is kind of just off the cuff, but Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, and Carnell Tate are all among the top 10, and some of them in the top 5. Some of them, like overall, the best players in the draft. Did Alabama do that a lot under Saban? And has that happened very often where you have 4 players that possibly get picked in the top 10? Maybe the old Miami Hurricanes or someone?
Tells me Ryan Day did a terrible coaching job. Every time I look at those guys, I'm like, how did they not win the national championship? It's not Indiana's got all those players up there. It's the Ohio State. Yes, you mentioned Miami, Florida State's another one. USC some years had them like that. And Alabama had a lot, but those guys are not all. They might go in the top 10. They're not going in the top 5. And if you look at them, can't miss prospects. Caleb Downs was viewed as a top 5 for sure. Now they're talking about he go to the top 10. And Reese, he's the best one they have. And but yes, there have been some great programs with great talent, and we've seen a few like that. But man, it's not something that's normal.
John, obviously Francisco Mendoza going 1 overall. The moment of truth for the Raiders doesn't come at number 1. It comes at number 35 or 6 whenever they have that second round pick, and everything after which they have a lot of. How do you expect John Spytek, Tom Brady, and Mark Davis to approach everything they do after Mendoza?
Well, Mark Davis is staying totally out of it. It's John Spytek. He's running the show. Brady is not there all the time. They keep him up to date on everything. Clint Kubiak has a big say in what they do, and we all know they need to improve their offensive line. Ashton Jenney, who was great when he played in Houston at the end of last season and almost pulled off the upset, that's what they're going to have. They got 2 really good tight ends, but they got to improve the line. And I really like the move for Kirk Cousins. I think that was tremendous. It'll be a 1-year deal for him. At some point, we all know Fernando Mendoza is going to end up starting this season. Seldom do you see a guy stay out all of his rookie season like Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes started 1 game, the last one of his rookie season. Aaron Rodgers, of course, didn't play at all his first 3 seasons, but I like what they're doing. I like the direction they're going. And one of the things Mark Davis has learned now, stay out of it.
Yeah. Now, Kirk Cousins, has he made more money than anybody else in the history of the NFL with all his contracts combined? Or who's
Matthew Stafford has made the most, and he has surpassed Tom Brady, I think, second. And he's going to play some more. He's 37 years old, takes great care of himself. He hasn't been beaten up a lot. And so he might play at least 42, and he'll surpass Matthew Stafford at some point. And his agent, who is a great agent but doesn't get a lot of attention, his name is Mike McCartney. He's represented him. And I'm trying to think, 3% of all that money, Mike's doing pretty well, but he's done a great job with Kirk Cousins. And I think this will be 1-year deal with the Raiders, and then hopefully he'll play well enough when he does play for other teams to say, well, next year I want him as my starting quarterback. Could be this becomes a thing for him, because next year, think about all these young quarterbacks coming out who could go in the first round, and their teammate to have the same idea. Bring in somebody else as the bridge, and Kirk Cousins doesn't have a monster ego. He's just got a monster bank account.
John, with certain offensive guys that might go early on, what does that mean for a player like Caleb Downs, who is amazing from Ohio State, but he's also a safety, and that's not something you often do in the top 10. Could he maybe, as good as he is, fall out of the top 10?
Yeah, well, Cowboy fans can keep hoping for that, but I just don't see it. I think guys who could fall are offensive linemen. There's not a great one right off the bat that everybody goes, man, that guy, you got to have him. I think there's going to be 7 at least taken in the first round, maybe 8, but they're not the stars like those guys at the top. Caleb Downs is a star who can cover a lot of ground, plays anywhere, and I don't see any way he drops out of the top 10.
All right, John. The draft is coming up. The Masters starts tomorrow. We just finished the NCAA Final Four. Besides the obvious of football season with you, is there another part of the season that is your favorite? Is it the Astros in baseball? What is it?
The Astros stink.
Oh, golly. Yeah.
They are horrible.
Well, it's just 2 weeks into the season.
They just lost their second starting pitcher, Christian Javier, today in the second inning. Now they can't hit. They haven't been able to pitch. They're a disaster. Yes, I know it's early, but early they are disaster. Rockets have won 7 in a row, so I've become an NBA fan. And I loved watching all the college basketball, men and women. I don't know why they won't put the women's game in prime time. I don't know why they put the men on TBS. They still got some ways to go. And I love watching the Masters and all the majors. So to me, there's not a bad time. Building up to the draft is the second best time of the year to the start of the playoffs, and I think third is the start of the season, and I can't wait.
I got to ask you, when the draft was 12 rounds, that was forever. I remember it because I mean, all of us probably at some point. How much of a weekend was that for you? Because you were a beat writer, columnist, and doing that.
They did 12 rounds in one day one time. The draft used to be during the season. They'd have it in New York, and then the top dogs would leave and go over to Giant Yankee Stadium and watch the Giants play. And at one point, it was 18. It was in the 20s. And thank goodness they kept shortening it. Last time, it was not 7. They did 8 rounds. And then they reduced that. Usually, that's part of the collective bargaining agreement because you're better off being a free agent than you are drafted in the 7th round because you have a few options if you're a good free agent and you can get more money up. I'll tell you what it was like before ESPN. The Oilers would take over the Shamrock Hilton, one of the country's most famous hotels. It's no longer there. And we would go in a monster ballroom for fans, separate room for the media, and they'd have a big board that had all the teams on it in the order they were picking. They'd get a telephone call, they'd answer it, and then they'd go over and write the name and the player and the position, like where he was drafted, and we just kind of, And then the once it was on ESPN, that took it to a whole nother level. And then, of course, with NFL Network, it made it even better. And I really, really get excited about it.
Yeah, I know you've covered a bunch of them. Thank you very much for your time, buddy. Great to have you with us. As always, good to see you. Thanks for being flexible today and being on with us today.
Thank you, guys. Take 'em Bears.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us on 365 Sports. You guys brought up Keith Abney II earlier in the show from Arizona State. You know, we watched him play high school ball. He played at Waxahachie.
Oh, okay.
So we did a couple of his games when they were in the same district with Midway. I remember that name. Heck of a player. He's been Doug Tomorrow, who's one of the media relations guys for Arizona State, said they just love him. Of course, they have the fight kid from Tatum, too, so they're doing well in the state of Texas. When we come back, Paul Catalina at his top 5. We'll also spin the wheel. We'll have quizzes and the poll results and a couple of other nuggets. Rez Flores, thank you very much for running the mothership. Garrett Ross and Andrew Valet, this is 365 Sports.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Declaration of Deals is at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get $11,000 off a new Ram 1500 Lone Star, plus 2.9% for 72 months. And America's best full-size truck powertrain 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Next in line,
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Now it's time for 365 Sports. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by flagandanthem.com. Go to flagandanthem.com, use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today we're talking top 5 Big 12 players in the transfer portal opened just last night. So let's talk portal. Number 5, P.J. Haggerty at K-State. Came to K-State from Memphis. He is a scorer. Now, K-State couldn't put it together. There was no chemistry on this team last year. Jerome Tang gets fired. It was not a great season in Manhattan. And P.J. Haggerty moving on to the next thing. He entered the draft and withdrew last year. If he scores on the pace that he did this year, he'll be in the top 20 of scoring all time in the NCAA. So he can benefit your team if you need points. I think there might be some other things going on with P.J. Haggerty where he hasn't completely raised his level to the top yet. But if you need points, P.J. Haggerty is going to get you points. Number 4, Isaiah Johnson from Colorado. Look, Colorado towards the top of the back of the pack there in the Big 12. But Isaiah Johnson, a bright spot and a young player who, with the right coaching, can contribute. I would expect him to stay inside the Big 12 and wind up in a place like Kansas or Texas Tech or perhaps even Baylor as one of their guards next season. We'll see, though, because he's going to have a lot of people looking at him. He closed out the season really strong. Number 3, point guard Rob Wright from BYU, who at the end of last season said, well, I'll always be at BYU if I'm in a college uniform. Well, that wasn't the case. He also transferred. At least he transferred at the front of the deadline this year as opposed to after Baylor had kind of started to build their offseason strategy around having him. We'll see where he goes. Averaged almost 19 points a game. He's an outstanding player. I do think, though, things got a little worn for him in Provo towards the end of the season. We'll see what happens. Maybe he goes back to BYU. Sometimes you enter the portal to see what your market is and the school matches it. Whatever. We'll see, but Rob Wright in the portal, and I'm kind of surprised, but not surprised, just knowing what I know about how last year went down at Baylor. Number 2, Mustafa Tiam from Cincinnati, was at UCF, then went to Cincinnati. This is a 7'2" big guy who was one of the leaders in the team in scoring, 12 points a game, also averaged over 7 rebounds a game. So this is an offensive and defensive force that you can have. Big guy down low. He's going to get a lot of offers. Look, when Wes Miller gets fired, that almost guarantees that most of that team going into the portal. And Mustafa Tiam, the best one of it from last year at Cincinnati, a team that did not reach their goals and had a really good lineup when you talk about Mustafa Tiam and Baba Miller and Sincere Wright and Digital James and all those guys just couldn't get it together early in the season, closed out strong in the regular season, and then got bounced in the Big 12 tournament. Number 1, Flory Badunga from KU is visiting Texas Tech and Louisville, and we'll see where he winds up. He entered the portal and the draft last year and wound up coming back to Kansas. I don't think that's going to be the case this time. At least it doesn't look like it. Somebody is going to money whip Flory Badunga, and it might be KU. He might be going out there, and you throw Texas Tech into the mix, and you know that at least your offer has to be competitive because of what they are willing to pay to make sure their team is better. He is an absolute stud rebounder. He's got to get better at the jump shots, but he cleans glass down low. He's a defensive force, and when it's putbacks, when it's layups, when it's all that, he is an NBA player eventually. He's 6'9", long, angry player, good teammate, all those things you want. But in the portal again, and I know Kansas really wants him back, but I think this might be the end of the road for him and the Jayhawks, even though Bill Self is coming back next year. That's going to do it for the top 5. Rez, spin the old wheel.
All right. The wheel has spun. Needs to be given a rest. The NBA greatest of all time debate, the NFL getting soft, the what if scenarios, analytics versus the eye test.
I would say for me, it's the NBA GOAT debate because, look, it's going to be generational, but I do think that when you look at it, or the greatest player of all time, I think the one thing I agree with LeBron on when somebody asked him about it, he said there needs to be like a bar where you have your top shelf players and then you kind of move on down, as opposed to saying, well, this is why Kobe is better than LeBron and Jordan is better than Kobe and Bill Russell was better than all of them because of this. Like the eras don't match up. I think it's the same way in any sport. When you talk about the GOAT debate, you know, Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Peyton Manning had all these tremendous passing yards. And then you heard people say, well, that means that Troy Aikman and guys that played in that other era aren't as good as they are. And it's like, no, it's just a different style of play. And I think that kind of muddies the water a little bit. But the NBA in particular GOAT debate is very tired to me.
Stephen A. Smith made a career basically off the GOAT debate. He could have just done that and probably would have ended up in a similar place that he's at now. So yeah, that one's very tiresome. The most tiresome thing about that was that it was started before LeBron even won a title. It ramped up after he won one. It ramped up even further after he won two. And it's just been going on for 20 plus years. And we're all sick and tired of hearing about it at this point, I think, other than those who seemingly enjoy it because it's still daily fodder for some people. But yeah, I mean, that got completely used and abused and gone over 10 times over and just still remains. So yeah, that one's very tiresome. And I would think though that for me, the one that's even worse is just and look, I say this as somebody who's getting older and I look at the younger generation, I'm like, oh, them and their damn cell phones. But I got to stop myself because people said that about my generation in video games. And I'm going to say it about people in their TikTok, and the TikTok kids are going to say it about Zoofers or whatever the hell the next app is that like is something. And then the Zoofer kids will talk about how the other kids don't get it because of, and so I just think like the old people bitching about the young people and how their era was better. You know, like I see people from the 50s talk about, oh, the golden era. And I'm like, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs, like civil rights fights, like post-World War II. Like,
but aren't they talking sports?
No, a lot of people are talking about when we went to school, as butterflies were flying around and everything was idyllic. And it's like, bullshit. It's always been screwed up. Like no matter what decade we're talking about. Now, some decades are more screwed up than others. But point being that like the natural cycle of you're the young one, the older people don't get it. You become the older people and the younger ones don't get it. And that's never going to break that cycle. But I try to prevent myself as much as I don't like seeing some of the things. They're just not for me. And I have to understand that it's a different time. And so, yeah, I think the old people calling out the young people is really tiresome to me.
I had never thought that way. And I'm old. I'm 67. Remember, I got Social Security deposited in my bank today. I never really have said that kids today or, yeah, there's a few things that I don't quite understand or recognize, but the golden age, you know, I guess we have Mantle, Aaron, Mays, etc. All right. But to me, it probably is the NBA greatest of all time.
It's gone on for 20 plus years.
It has gone on forever. And I'd like to just, why can't we just talk about who's the best player now? I get the debate. Sports is always like the greatest football team of all time. Who's the greatest Heisman Trophy winner? Whatever.
Who's the Mount Rushmore of this or that? Like, that's part of it. I think it's just filling hours, and then it became something that they obviously hit a pulse, and they never went away from it to the point of just exhaustion. So, yeah, those would be a couple of major ones for me.
All right, to the quizzes, as Andrew Valet dials them up. Oh, I see Al Downing. Know what that means. That's the answer.
On April 8th, 1974, Hank Aaron made his historic history by hitting his 715th career home run to pass Babe Ruth.
I think Al Downing caught it.
Which Dodgers pitcher gave up the record-breaking blast?
It's not Koufax. He was gone.
Yeah. Tommy John, Al Downing, Don Sutton, Tommy John, or Sandy Koufax.
See, now I'm confused. I'm out thinking myself like I used to with the NCAA. Picks at like 12 seeds, 15 seeds. Al Downing, Tom House caught it. Al Downing, I believe, was the pitcher.
Well, he caught it in the bullpen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about a home run. That's where they usually catch it if it's not in the stands.
Okay.
I've outthought myself here. I think it's Al Downing.
Okay. Well, I'll say, you're right, Smokey. You shouldn't doubt yourself.
No, I started to overthink it, but then I remembered Tom House, I think, former pitching type of a little bit of weirdo when that former player, he caught it.
Yeah, Tom House. Well, he made a bunch of money after his career as a pitching
it's
instructor.
Helping pitchers and rehabbing too.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan and Tom House was a big deal. Okay, after Rescue maximize that for my old eyes. After tying the record on opening day, Hank Aaron returned to Atlanta to face the Dodgers. In the fourth inning, he turned a 1-0 pitch from lefty Al Downing, sending it over the left center field wall. Broadcaster Milo Hamilton captured the moment. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time. Aaron finished with 755 homers and his RBIs, 2,297 in total bases, 6,856. Records still stand.
Yep. Good for him. Al Downing, a hell of a pitcher. Good left-handed pitcher, too. All right. Quiz 2.
Before it became the most famous golf course in the world, the grounds of Augusta served what purpose? Dairy cattle farm, fruit nursery, lumber mill, or horse racing track? I believe it's a dairy cattle farm.
I have no idea, but I do know there was a golf course outside of Canton, Texas, that used to be a fruit nursery, the tree farm, too, and they turned it into a gorgeous golf course, but it eventually ran its course and they just let it go. But I have no idea.
That's why the grass is so green.
No, it's beautiful.
Got years and
just
years of
gorgeous.
Years and years of manure.
Yes,
I'll default to you because I don't have any clue. I've never read anything about the background prior to being a golf course.
The cattle poop might help.
Yeah. All right. I'm saying,
no, I was a minute.
Come on.
I said, okay.
Yeah. Before Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts purchased the land in 1931, the property was filled with Fruitland Nurseries, a famed 365-acre plant nursery. This foundational history is why every single hole at Augusta is named after a specific tree or shrub. I'm reading too fast. Like pink dogwood or azalea that was originally grown on the grounds. It's also why the course is world-renowned for its perfectly manicured landscaping and floor displays. Sorry about that, people.
All right. The answer is we're wrong.
Yeah.
We're wrong. Let's get to the poll questions from earlier today that Andrew posted. Who was your pick to win the Masters? And I mean, wow, almost 60% of the vote. Almost triple of Scotty, 56%. The scientist, Bryson DeChambeau, is the choice. Nearly 256 votes, 300 votes. Very well done. I think I would have picked Rahm, even though I have Scheffler and Rory on my team. All right. Thank you, Andrew. The other poll question. This is disgusting that it's not 100%. Craig, read this one.
Poll bone-in versus boneless chicken. Which side are you on? Bone-in or boneless?
I'm a bone-in guy. I don't like boneless. I don't like boneless at all. I like the chicken wings with the bone-in.
I prefer boneless wings are just glorified chicken nuggets, which I enjoy a chicken nugget. I enjoy a boneless wing. But if I'm really in it for wings, then I want wings. I want actual traditional bone-in wings.
I would say bone-in as well. It's real chicken, as much as it can be real chicken. Whereas boneless, sometimes it's definitely not.
You are hoping on the integrity of whoever makes it, and if it's just chicken breast chunks that they make, that's fine. But most of the time, I mean, it depends on where you're getting it. If you're getting it at a restaurant, usually it's just chicken breast. But depending on where you are, it could just be chicken.
I like the convenience of boneless. I like a nice boneless chicken sandwich. Like at Chick-fil-A or any other of those good kinds. But yeah, as far as this goes, particularly give me bone-in and real chicken versus some of the stuff that I know when I take a bite of it, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting substance, interesting brand of off chicken this is.
Who has the best boneless wings?
I don't know. I don't have a lot of boneless wings, honestly.
I would say Wingstop because it's what they do.
Yeah, that's probably a
and
good
Wingstop has really good boneless wings. That's
Do they do? I didn't know they did.
Yeah, they do. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
they do boneless wings. Actually, during COVID, they did chicken thighs for a while because there was a shortness on wings, on actual wings. So, yeah, I would say Wingstop has the best. I mean, or if you go to a place that's a traditional sports bar or wing place, you can get some good ones. But if you're just going to go for it, I would say Wingstop.
Wingstop's probably the go-to. Yeah, I don't know. I've dabbled in a few places. Wingstop's usually pretty good.
It's 5 minutes from here too. There's one right there under the old studio.
Yeah, I used to. A lot of this happened because of that. Because I was working games at night and smelling wings and going like, "Hey, you know what? I've got 15 minutes before they at least
next
get to my
local break,
break.
yeah.
So I'll just make a call downstairs."
And I'd love for them to sponsor the show if they want to do that. So just ignore this next part. Don't love their fries though.
Yeah.
They're a little bit wobbly.
You can get them extra crispy.
Extra
Well,
crispy.
yeah, no, that's the way. Yeah,
If you have to ask for that, because if you don't like them the way that they are, they'll do them a little crispy for you and come out really good.
Yeah, because I get like the soggy logs.
Yeah.
they are. My dad used to get crispy fries. He'd go to a restaurant, whatever, and if they weren't crispy, he would damn sure tell them.
Yeah, that's my problem with In-N-Out Burger is that they need to like just drop the fries in the grease for like 45 seconds longer, and they're going to be fine.
All right, there we go. Thank you very much, Andrew Valade. Thank you to our guests today and our sponsors. Thanks to Rez for being our Michelangelo. We appreciate what you do. Garrett Ross as well. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, we are back at it again tomorrow at 3. Have a great night. The Masters starts in the morning. I'm David Smoak. Good night.